and parents together with school administration seeking ways to repair damages caused. Form 4 students at Miranda High School have been sent home indefinitely after they allegedly threatened to ban the institution. Say County Director of Education Nelson Sifuna confirmed that the students had refused to sit their internal mock exams, which were supposed to be done on Monday next week. The incident comes just 3 days after the 6 students who'd been arrested in connection with the dormitory fire were set free without being charged due to lack of evidence. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles, they are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refuse to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani maternity hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
SpiceFM. Nyeri.
It's coming down with rain this morning in many parts of the city, and we're looking at traffic already building up on Mombasa Road today, right around that Maritime stretch. Looks like it's going to be something for most parts of this Friday. Other parts of the city, not so bad, actually. We're looking at Uhuru Highway, then going into the city, looking pretty good for now, not at all. Jogo Road, for once in a while. It's just building up going towards the roundabout, but again, nothing in terms of traffic madness. It's building up slowly on the Thika Superhighway, and that's just around that Muthui underpass area. A little bit on Kiambu Road here and there, but it looks like it's going to get crazy as the minutes tick by. It is Friday, the tail end of the week and the beginning of the month, so we're likely to see heightened traffic today. Keep an eye on things and plan ahead, but that's just an update for now. Let us know what it looks like where you are or where you're going, just in case anything should pop up. You can do that on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text for 0127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
How are
the
you
Situation
doing?
Room.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 9 minutes after 6 on the 3rd day of December 2021. Hamjambo, Kenya. Fellow Kenyan, Bwana Muga.
Yes, fellow Kenyan, Bwana Eric.
How are you doing?
Mimi niko mzima, nashukuru. Na wewe je?
Mimi pia niko mzima, nashukuru.
Wewe nashukuru?
Yes.
Hata mimi.
I like your shirt.
Thank you, sir. It's warmer than the shirts I normally wear.
I was about to ask you, I mean, what's that?
No, it's
why the choice?
Weather.
It's a weather?
Weather.
It's weather dictated.
It's weather dictated, my friend. Kwa sababu, it is actually cold. And my body is a coldometer.
Kuna vile.
It tells me.
Kuna vile. Ndu,
Good morning.
how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Yes.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
CT. Good morning.
Good morning, Do. These greetings that a couple of octaves higher than normal are good. Hi, Do. How are you?
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
I do something to you.
Why not?
Put some pep in your step. Kink in your tail, right?
My tail did what?
It's now bushy.
Hey.
You even want to do like that?
People, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. At 8 o'clock today, we'll be joined by a judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim. He is also the chair of what? Of this committee in the judiciary that's in charge of election preparedness. So when he comes, he'll be coming as the man of the moment. And we'll be talking about what the judiciary is doing to prepare electoral dispute resolution preparedness by the judiciary. You expect that there's going to be electoral dispute. That is a given, all right? With all those elections that we talk about, 1,800 elections countrywide, obviously there'll be some disputes here and there. So how is the judiciary preparing for that? Are they well sorted? Do they have enough judicial officers to do this? Are they prepared to sort them out as they come? That's what the judge will be telling us. It'll be good to have a judge of the Supreme Court in the room.
Indeed.
Yeah. Do you have something special for him? He's your good friend.
Yes, he is my friend.
You know, City knows judges.
Supreme Court caliber.
It's not so much that I know judges. It's that you keep in touch with your contemporaries.
Right.
He wasn't always a judge.
Yeah, but he's a judge now. We are not talking about keeping in touch.
You're telling me what?
Yeah.
Mali tuko sai.
Mali tuko sai. City knows that he's a friend to a judge of the Supreme Court.
I didn't tell you.
Tell me.
I met City's sister. Telling you. It was a great experience. Such a classy lady. City's from good stock.
Essentially what is saying, she doesn't know how I turned out this way. You can think, okay, I've met his sister, like this guy also.
This guy.
What happened?
You're the sister to this one.
I'm going to teach you at some point. I mean, what happened? Aligongo na nini?
Anyway, let's talk about COVID.
Let's do that. 96 new cases in the country. It's pretty, considering what it has been over the last couple of weeks. It's a high number, right? From a sample size of 4,040. That's a 2.4% positivity rate. Still keeping the positivity rate low, so this is a good thing. Another day when 0 deaths were recorded. And we're looking at cumulative fatalities from COVID in the country of 5,335. Of course, there are worries. That is the new variant here, etc., etc. None of that has been reported in the country just yet. And so the cries are, vigilance needs to be increased, etc., etc., to make sure that we are safe. Now, you know what's falling like rain? The vaccines that are coming into the country. A couple of days ago, we were at 14 million. Today, we're at 16,201,000. They are coming in. Dr. Kwale told us that actually, you know what? The supply is not going to be an issue. We will have enough. I believe that Dr. Muller reiterated the same. We're going to have enough. The challenge now is making sure that more and more people get vaccinated.
Challenge is distributing and taking it to the people.
So now we are looking at 10% of the adult population having been vaccinated. Of that 10%, now we're at 57%. That have been fully vaccinated. 7.3 million people in the country have been vaccinated. So, guys, there's about 8.7 million vaccines in the country, just under 9 million. There's, in terms of availability, they're there. And so the call is, then why can't we get more people vaccinated? Trying to get to 10 million by the 31st of this month. That means, what are we today, on the 3rd? If we're just going to do simple math, in the next 25, 26 days, it's necessary to have about 150,000 people.
If we look at the statistics of the counties and see.
All right, so
you will see how Things are bad. Uh-huh.
Right. So if we just look around Nairobi, 28% of Nairobi County has been vaccinated, 16.7 in Kiambu, 11.2 in Nakuru, 22.2 in Nyeri, Machakos at 9.9, Mombasa at 11%, Murang'a at 12%, Uasin Gishu at 12, Kisumu at 11. We're looking as low at 5 in Meru and Kakamega and Bungoma. Even lower at 3.9 in Kisii, 4.6 in Migori, 4.0 in Homa Bay, 4% in Kwale and Busia, 5% in Baringo, 3% in Bomet, 2% in Narok. We're looking at low numbers in Garissa, Turkana, Wajir, Samburu, Mandera, West Pokot, Marsabit, Isiolo, Tana River, and Lamu.
You see? Distribution by the counties. This is where the issue is. How can you explain 4% of Kakamega?
This is it.
How?
And Kakamega, for example, is it that they are in terms of numbers or in terms of quota that was given in this particular county, it was not given? Or are they sitting there on the shelves and the people of the county are not going to this to get it done?
Those are the questions.
What is it?
Because you cannot tell me that, for example, if you go to Kisii today, you'll find very many people who are saying, Mimi staki yoshindano.
I don't think so.
No.
4% uptake in Kisii over the last 9 months is dismal.
And I'm focusing on those two counties because the governors of those two counties have had a lot of work done on the health system. Right? The governor of Kisii County has done a lot of work on health. Governor Ongwae. The governor of Kakamega has done a lot of work on health. So you...
Is it his job to distribute these things?
Yes. Yes.
It's his job to make sure they're distributed.
Yes.
It's saying you do something good, but there has to be follow-up.
There has to be a lot of follow-up.
And it can't be follow-up one day and then you forget about it for the next 4. It has to be constant.
No.
You know, making sure that it continues. Again, I think with all the talk and hullabaloo of new variants and such, we can't run away from the reality that this vaccine as a first line of defense and protection is vital.
You know,
it's the bottom line.
If you look at infections across the globe, people talk about South Africa. My friend, Germany is in the thickest of it.
424% increase of infections of COVID in 13 days.
Exactly.
Huge
It's
numbers
massive.
in Germany.
4th wave.
Yeah.
However, how many deaths?
Few. Why? There you go.
That's the thing. Because if you break it down, infections increase, yes. Serious infections, consequences, yes. Deaths, minimum. So it points to the effectiveness of the vaccine. Because you then ask, what is the percentage of that population that has been vaccinated? South Africa is 30%.
Yeah.
Okay? And yet, they're really having issues. And word off the block is that this new variant is actually causing havoc. Europe has variants as well.
Yep.
Every place that has COVID. But the story is, without vaccination, you stand a chance of not only increasing the percentage of those who are infected, but the likelihood of death is even higher. That was established a long time ago.
Yes.
You know, it's odd about this world we live in, that something as serious and ominous and which affects everybody like COVID human beings must give it a twist that one could really do without at such a time. Anyway.
So Germany has now done the thing. Anybody who's unvaccinated does not get access to very many of the public places.
Yeah, but them, how many? You see, it's available, you know. So if you are not vaccinated, it's
your
you.
choice.
It's you. Yes.
It's you.
But remember the ones who first said they're going to be doing spot checks to determine whether you actually have a certificate to show that you've been fully vaccinated. And you know, in that country, you're not going to buy a certificate so that people can think that you're vaccinated.
There's no river road in Germany.
Kuna. You
So
either vaccinated.
Germany and Austria are doing this thing.
Yes, they are.
Right. Next, they'll round up some people and oops. It's 19 minutes after 6.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has anybody that kind of? Has anybody been
Listen, I will not listen.
A bit of advice, because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
Cloudy conditions and a bit of a sprinkle in Nairobi at 15, highs of 22 today. And we're looking at Nakuru City, mostly clear at 13, highs of 23 and lows of 12. Nyeri is mostly cloudy at 15, highs of 22 and lows of 13. While looking at 13 and clear in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 13. Mostly cloudy conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 32. And in Malindi, it's mostly cloudy at 26, a chance of rain very high here, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is mostly clear at 20, highs of 29 and lows of 19, and we're looking at mostly clear conditions at 18 in Kakamega, highs of 29 and lows of 16. Cloudy conditions in Kampala, highs of 26 and lows of 19, while in Dar es Salaam, already sunny, early so at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 24 today. In Johannesburg, it's clear at 15, we'll see highs of 26, while clear conditions herald Lagos morning at 26, highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's clear for now in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 23. Western Europe is going into a very cold weekend. Paris is waking up to ice and snow at 0. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 6. It's raining and snowing at the same time. What a combination in London at 4, highs of 10 today. And New York, still Thursday night, is mostly clear at 13. We'll see highs into Friday of 14 and lows of 6.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 23 minutes after 6. Do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Vincent Ogutu says, good morning, Danny Abdi Kadir Abdallah. Good morning here at Comarock, locked in as usual until the end. Karibu sana. Wa Ebubere Mumias. Nikon Dani Ampango. That's Farista Muganda. Soldier Mundoro says, good morning as well. And Franco Dor says, tune in from Bamburi. And it's raining. Indeed, it is. In most parts of the country today. Good morning. Tune in from Narok East. Paul Ntaiya. It'd be very interesting to hear, Paul, what's going on in Narok and why are folks not getting vaccinated? What's going on? Good morning, team of the Situation Room, listening from Nairobi. You rock too. Good morning, team TSR from Juja Farm. Kilimambogo is not visible today. True, it's quite foggy. With this rain and traffic, could schools consider Zoom classes? We tried this at the onset of COVID.
Yes.
We tried it.
It's a good idea.
It is a very good idea. However,
there's a however.
There's always a however, my
However,
friend.
what?
However, infrastructure needed.
Well, yeah, but those schools that were doing it, can they do it today?
How many of those? Very small percentage of the schools around the country.
Stanley knows a school.
Stanley knows a school. Okay. Of the almost 80,000 schools in the country. All right. Robert Subogo says, good morning. Tune in from Mombasa. Morning. Eric and Ndu and CT. Benson Mumo is tuned in this morning. I'm seeing quite a lot of you. Good morning to you, Madam Nigerian by birth and Kenyan by choice. Hey. Good morning, Mr. Newshound and Moses.
Go on. Go on.
And Moses too. That's Christoph Kunziato. He says, good morning to you. Quite a number of people online this morning. Can't get to all of you, but we see you all. Asante sana for joining us.
Karibuni kila mtu. City, the day's proverb.
Asiyejua kucheza husema wacha nivae nguo.
Asiyejua kucheza
husema wacha nivae nguo.
Kwani ni mchezo gani hiyo?
Dansi.
Kwani dansi haitaki nguo?
Dance.
Niko njiani naja, lakini wacha nivae kwanza.
Oh.
Sijajipamba.
Sina nguo ya kwenda huko.
Kwa ufupi utatafuta kisababu.
Okay. You get it? You get it?
I don't get it.
You don't get it?
I forget about
All
it.
right, let me.
If you don't get it, forget about it.
Ajue na mapema.
Yes.
What? It's raining in my brain.
So, in English, then, City.
Well, directly, it's he who does not know how to dance says, let me dress first.
Okay.
Get it?
Get it.
Good. Let's take a look at the newspaper headlines. Remember, you can get access to the Standard e-paper by going on to standardmedia.co.ke. Subscribe and you buy the Standard e-paper. 20 bob every day. Okay? And you get access to the entire coverage in the Standard for any day. Today is completely Friday because on the front pages of the Nation and the Standard, not a single name of a politician, a political party, or IEBC, or any of that. Not one.
Is this not a good thing?
Imagine.
Do we need to take a moment?
Yeah.
No, let's take a moment.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
And thank
the Almighty.
Yes, for speaking to the people who are often behind this in understanding. Goodness gracious me. A breath of fresh air.
There are very many other things that are happening in the country. So, the headline in the Standard, dumped in septic tank, left to die. During a night out, Agnes Wanjiru met a British soldier whom she danced with before leaving together for his room. Her body was found over 2 months later. This is the story of Agnes Wanjiru, who was murdered by British soldiers. It's been found out by an inquest. Now, it's because Kinoti was in court yesterday. And the other headline, then in that, not in court, it was in Parliament. The other headline is, Kinoti walks free as committee cells beckon. Director of Criminal Investigations strode into Parliament buildings yesterday, a free man, despite a conviction badge hanging on his head. He neither flinched nor looked remorseful as he set out to engage MPs. The Nation has different headlines. We'll be looking at them. So which one do you want to start with?
The same Kinoti will go to is to go to the UK to probe this same murder. Detectives will travel to the United Kingdom to question 4 soldiers who were in a hotel in Nanyuki on the night Agnes Wanjiru was killed 9 years ago. The DCI boss, George Kinoti, who, incidentally, as you said yesterday, walked away free from this hanging, or rather, from this
despite
jail term that was hanging over his head. He told the National Assembly Defense and Foreign Relations Committee that his homicide team was ready, but they did not state when the team would travel to Britain, only saying that they were waiting for a nod from the UK's Royal Military Police. So as soon as they get that, they will then go and do their own probe. 9 years later, not too late. He did not. The suspected killer had confided in his colleagues after the murder, which happened at the Lions Court Lodge in Nanyuki Town. We know the details of that. And so he's saying, look, as soon as we get go ahead, a green light from their counterparts in the UK, then they will be making this trip to go and probe, ask their own questions, etc., etc.
And he gave an account of what the investigators know about the last moments of Agnes Wanjiru, saying she was at this particular hotel, she had come in with her friends, and according to the account given to the MPs, the soldier approached her, engaged her a little, and sought her hand to the dance floor. Clueless, Wanjiru started jamming to the loud music, but also counting hours to her end. All along, her friends were watching over her. At around 2 a.m., one of the friends stepped out of the bar to catch some fresh air, leaving her in the arms of the soldier. Shortly thereafter, she saw Wanjiru and her newfound friend moving towards the guest room's direction within the precincts of the hotel. But before that, Wanjiru engaged her in a small chit-chat before disappearing towards the room areas. This was the last time she was seen alive. The 2 friends who stayed behind at the hotel continued having fun And once they saw that time was running out and Wanjiku had not returned, they decided to take their leave and exit the hotel. According to them, they decided to let their friend continue having a good time with the soldier. And then the next morning, the friends learned that Wanjiru had not returned home, which was unusual since at the time she had a 5-month-old infant. Alarmed, they joined her sister in search of their beloved friend. They then decided to go to the hotel where she was last seen, but she was nowhere to be found. The family filed for a missing person at the police station on the 5th of June 2012. 2 months after her disappearance, a body was retrieved at the Lions Court Lodge. Kinoti says a manager at the hotel instructed a staff member at the maintenance section to clean all the manholes and waste disposal pipes since the compound started having a foul smell. It was in the process of cleaning that they discovered the body. This is one of those instances where we keep repeating that we really, really need to see justice.
Indeed.
In this particular case. And I like that the MPs are pushing.
Insisting on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I don't think we can... this schools, unrest and fires, I know you want us to take a break. Should we look at that when we come back?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's take a break. It's 29 minutes to 7 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a break. Let's see how the roads are looking like. Yeah. The people who are not seeing Kilimambogo are saying there's a lot of traffic because there's a lot of rain.
So you can't see
they can't see Kilimambogo because it's raining and there's traffic. And they want their children to do virtual classes today.
It's a lot of requests in one stage.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see how the roads are looking like. Good morning.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1#.
Jagger Road is piling up this morning, getting into the city. That's where we're seeing most action in these Nairobi streets, at least for now, through that industrial area circuit. Getting out then towards the train station at Makadara and then towards the city stadium roundabout. It's already building up on Langata Road, a very narrow road, and we're also seeing construction happening there, so that's why things have slowed down considerably. Uhuru Highway then going from Nyayo Stadium out into the city, that has slowed down quite some as well, especially at your roundabouts, Haile Selassie and then going towards University Way, out then towards Westlands, that slows down some. Thika Superhighway also quite packed now. Getting into the city, we're seeing also Kiambu Road is packed up as well. Apart from that, doesn't look too bad. The roads are wet and the rain is still coming down. So let's keep an eye on things. You want to tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods just in case things get sticky? Do that. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Okay, and let's talk about Showmax. So last night there was a game. Manu and Arsenal. Manu and Arsenal. Yes.
It was a beautiful back and forth.
It was nice, wasn't it?
Yes.
And what happened?
Arsenal scored. And then Manu equalized. And then Manu scored. And then Arsenal equalized.
And then? Let's finish it properly.
And then, of course, because it's Old Trafford and there's a referee, Manu were given a penalty.
Did you listen to that interpretation?
Don't mind him.
They had to be given a penalty. So, if you're watching this match on Showmax, kudos to you.
You know, I was hoping
you
would actually mention the person whose game stood out. Somebody by the name of Ronaldo. Because,
of course he's not going to do that.
Because in addition to simply scoring magnificently, his goal tally surpassed a certain important
800.
Ali Peter.
He scored 800 goals in his career as a footballer, and that's a good thing. Well, it's a good thing for Ronaldo. That's why actually we allowed him to score. Okay, that's why now, because I mean,
you see now,
score the 800th goal.
You
in Old
You are
Trafford.
inclined towards the other team. Sorry, I didn't.
So when
get
he
it.
scored, now Arsenal came and equalized just to level it out. And then, of course, now the referee had to
give more time on the penalty.
Yeah, and the penalty. Yeah. So Showmax Pro shows these matches live. And with Showmax Pro, you can actually watch it from wherever you are on your mobile devices. You don't need to be in front of a smart TV. So you can be on a smart TV, can be on a mobile device, or wherever you are.
Catch all the action.
Yes. Catch all the action. We'll tell you more about Showmax and how you can subscribe to Showmax Pro. Good morning. 25 to 7.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
What are you looking at, City?
You know, to be honest, my friend.
Oh, wait. Ndu had promised to tell us about school fires.
Oh,
Okay,
Mimi.
Tell us about school fires.
School fire fine spark fresh crisis. It's being called a crisis now because parents are not sure what they're going to do if this is not looked over properly. It's called the parents' pain. Thousands of students in affected institutions are staring at a bleak future as they may not resume their studies because school managements are imposing heavy charges for repairs and also demanding the clearance of fee arrears before readmissions. Now, there are many things that are going on here. Number one, many schools are now charging for the damage, right?
Yeah.
So it's 7,000, 8,000 shillings per student, depending on the amount of damage, and then divided by the number of students in the school. Now, once you come back, you must then clear your previous arrears plus this money before we even consider. There are also some students whom, had they told them they were expelled when they were going away on this break, they would have caused a ruckus. And so it's coming out now that they're away, they're now sending notice to let them know, look, because of what we've seen, 1, 2, 3, you have also been expelled, find yourself another school. Remember, we're in the second term of the year.
Yes.
That is coming to an end now.
Yes.
And then there are those who already were having a very difficult time and saying, look, we've not even cleared our arrears from term 1. Right? And now you're asking us to bring these hefty amounts because let's be honest, 9,000 shillings is a hefty amount.
It's a lot of money.
Right?
Yes.
It's a lot of money. And so the question is, what are we going to do? Are we going back to school? In about 20 days, this term will come to an end and we should be going into the final term of the year come January. What are we going to do? Some principals and boards of management have been accused of exaggerating the cost of repair and rebuilding schools. Questions have been raised on the accuracy of cost estimations of the damages, with a parent going to court to stop a school from collecting fines. Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha, however, insists that the government will not carry the cost of damage caused by students. And I quote, "We shall not handle students with kid gloves. Anybody who plans to burn a building will not be admitted to any other public school in this country. We shall ensure your parents foot the cost of repairs before you are taken to court." National Parents Association Chairman Nicholas Mayo says unrest has been recorded in 44 schools across the country, which is still in the minority, but it is significant in terms of what has been happening. He criticized the insistence by school managers on clearing fees, however, terming it punitive and going against the Ministry of Education policy and guidelines. So in as much as there has been damage done, holding readmission because of non-clearance of arrears is unfair, according to Mayo. It should not be a sticking point.
You know, we have our problems, but there is a country called the US of A. They also have their problems. Okay?
Always.
There was, in 2018, in Texas, a town called Santa Fe. Is it Santa Fe?
Santa Fe.
Okay, Fe. There was a school shooting. Students died. The other day, in Michigan, a high school by the name of Oxford High School, a young gentleman by the name of Crumley came to the school with a semi-automatic gun. How he got into the school with the gun, different story, okay? 4 of his schoolmates lie dead. He entered the restroom, according to the story, came out, the semi-automatic firing indiscriminately as he walked along the corridor. Okay? Now, He's 15 years old.
Wow.
He has been charged. Now, listen to this. They charge him as an adult.
Yes.
2 dozen crimes charged, including murder, attempted murder, and terrorism.
Wow.
Now, of interest, his mother, a lady by the name of Jennifer Crumbley, wrote to President Trump when he was still president and said, this funding for schools in some of these areas is causing problems because children don't have enough facilities, we don't have issues, and there's a common core at the heart of all these things. Now, she is reported as having said, part of the problem that her son had, the son had a problem in school. And she said she had to forego paying for her car insurance so that she could get a tutor for her son. The son clearly had problems. And on the day that this happened, the parents of this boy had been called to school to have a small discussion with the school about some issues he was having. Clearly he was having issues. The US, it isn't the first time we've had shootings in schools.
Yes.
But it points to a problem that they have their problem, we have ours. Ours ends up in schools, dormitory schools burning. Them, because guns are readily available, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking as if Kenya was the US and guns were, you got where I'm going with this. Yeah. And guns were readily available. What do you think would happen?
So the mother had actually
written an open letter to the president and said, this school system we have here,
funding of schools.
There are many things that are going wrong in these schools. Children aren't being taught properly. They don't have enough facilities. They don't have this. And Mr. President, the decision that you made, these cost-cutting measures that you took and so forth, it's affecting our children adversely. Now, we look at our situation and every other day when we have breath to speak, we say, there's something that the government really ought to pay a keen attention to.
Yeah.
These programs you have, very good, but can we at least have enough teachers to be, so that let the student-teacher ratio be reasonable? How do you explain one teacher?
For 80 students.
How?
100 students.
How do you expect those children to even learn?
Yes.
Now, as for facilities, we keep being told, this will happen.
This will do this and the other.
And it's always a long story.
Like this one. The PS in charge of implementation of the curriculum reforms, Fatuma Chege, says extra facilities in public primary institutions will be converted into junior secondary sections.
Okay.
She says the cases where secondary schools are not near the primary institutions, day schooling will be adopted to utilize the extra classrooms. The PS says plans are underway to put in place policies that will guide the implementation of the transition ahead of the grand shift in 2023, and says direction will also be issued on how extra infrastructure in far-flung primary schools or institutions that don't have secondary sections will be utilized to anchor junior secondary schools. So basically, what we've been saying, when they get to grade 6, they transition to junior secondary. Yes. But they standard 7, they standard 8, and there are classrooms there. So those ones now will become the junior secondary classrooms. And if they're far-flung from a secondary school, it'll be a day school. So you go into grade 1 up to grade 6, you finish, you just continue in the same school, junior secondary. 1, 2. Next, now you'll go to senior secondary in a secondary school. One would have hoped that we'd have plans on how to actually build more facilities in the secondary schools so the children actually transition to secondary properly.
You know what? I think there are plans. I think there's something somewhere. And you know why I think so? Based on a conversation we had about health a few weeks ago, that the prototype or the blueprint that they used for current project is something that they had lifted from something that was existing in a ministry. That's not the only ministry in the country. And we also know that some of the greatest minds operate within the Ministry of Education here as well. Look at the whole KICD and everybody else who works within that system. You cannot tell me that. Even as they look at expansion or an alteration of the school system, that these things do not come into consideration. I'm almost positive that these plans that you're talking about are sitting somewhere on a shelf collecting dust. I am sure that they're there. But what has been the bane of this all the time? The implementation
of it. Okay, just so remember that the crisis that we're going to have is in 2023 because we're going to have double intake.
Yes.
But after that, after the transition,
and it settles,
it normalizes.
Yeah.
So you'll finish grade 6. You can go into what was initially a Form 1 class in a secondary school.
And then you'll be in junior.
And then you'll be in junior
Yeah.
secondary.
Yeah.
So the 2 classes that are left in the primary school can then now be utilized as extra classrooms for primary.
The bumpy situation that we're looking at will be probably for a term. You know?
Not a term.
A year,
It's
sorry.
For 4 years until those ones
bump up to the next.
Yeah.
If you look at it, there's nothing that is beyond planning and being prepared for here, even as we're talking about it. My question is, okay, we've talked about it, but what exactly are we doing to ensure that these things come into force? Remember, we're talking about extra classrooms that they said were going to be built.
Yes.
We talked about school furniture that was supposed to be provided.
Yes.
All those stories are pending. And then you're telling me you want to add something more on top of what is pending. Now, surely. You see, that is where now the issue comes in.
That's where the issues come in.
Yes.
I think we should look for Fatma Shege to come in and explain to us what exactly is going to happen with this implementation as we go, as we roll over into the first cohort goes into junior secondary, into senior secondary, then what? Because people need to understand.
Unfortunately, practitioners of education on many levels right now probably do not understand it either. Yeah.
They just don't know, so what's going to happen? What are we going to do? When we say we are converting these classrooms into junior secondary, so what does it mean? Does it mean now that secondary school teachers will have to be brought into the school? Are they going to be under this primary school head teacher, or are they going to be reporting to a head teacher in a separate school? All those things are important. Are they going to be in the same staff room as the primary school teachers? Do they have a separate library for the junior secondary? There's a lot that needs to be considered. It's not just a classroom. You go into secondary school, you need labs. So you start studying chemistry. So is there a chemistry lab in the primary school?
This is what the conversation should be. In the primary school that will be used then for junior secondary, do you have the labs?
The preparedness covers all that. And also consider, when you talk about preparedness, we have a situation where every year the number of students who actually enter the school system increase. They're not decreasing.
Yeah.
So,
especially with the 100% transition.
Yes.
We're having the ngaos and chiefs
and the mandatory
going into areas
primary.
and pulling them out and forcing them to go to school.
Yep.
So you can imagine.
A lot of work needs to be done. It's 13 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break and then we look at other headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 11 minutes to 7. So there's the front photo in the front page of The Nation. There are 3 photos. One is a small photo there of Kinoti to go for soldiers in the murder probe. The other one is a file photo of a fire in a school. And then the other one is of Mzee, Mr. Gideon Kisira Cherowo, who's 73 years old. He's at his Birunda home in Saboti, Trans Nzoia County. He has sued his 48-year-old son, saying that the son has failed to provide for him, even after he paid his school fees from primary all the way to university. Man has gone to court. Here is the story. A 73-year-old man wants the High Court to compel his 48-year-old son to relinquish 20% of his salary for his upkeep. In the potential precedent-setting matter filed before the court in Kitale, Gideon Kisira, a resident of Birunda in Saboti Sub-County, Trans Nzoia County, says in court papers that he sacrificed a lot for his child, Washington Chepkombe Cherowo, to get an education all the way to university. He says, I used all the resources I had to enable the defendant to be in a good financial position so that he can help us. Right now, my wife and I are in a horrible state, yet we have a son who's working. I pray that since the defendant has a good salary, I request for 20% of his salary to be given to me as a father. Cherowo says his son works at the Kenya Airports Authority, but does not provide further details on what he does or how long he has worked there. I have tried several times since 2008 to seek assistance from my son, but all in vain. The old man says out of his 4 children, only Chepkombe is gainfully employed. I sold my land in Cheptais, Bungoma, to educate him from primary to university. I gave him a quarter of an acre. I even went ahead to pay dowry for the defendant's wife, which cost me 4 cows and some amount of money whose sum I can't recall. The case by this mzee is going to be setting a precedent. What do you think, City?
If I take a traditional view, very traditional view, the understanding was that you made that sacrifice because your children were supposed to be your insurance policy. They were supposed to be your pension in your old age.
Yes.
And it is also assumed that you'll have brought up the children to understand how to be responsible and how to look after others. Because it's not just a question of your children. Traditionally, if you were better off, you looked after very many other people other than your own children. It was just accepted. It was normal. Now, whether they would, as we say, rudisha mkono, return the hand, and see the need to assist you, it's a completely different story. Now, this story we're reading about, or we're talking, is actually symptomatic of many cases, just that people haven't gone to court, of stories where people talk about their ungrateful children. They talk about their ungrateful nephews and nieces. People who, having been assisted, then simply create massive distance from those who help them get to where they got to. They get caught up in just their own lives and whatever else it is that they're doing. So it is not a story that is unique. What is unique is that this man has gone to court.
This is going to be an interesting one.
Oh, by the way, groundbreaking, precedent setting.
Yes. Because surely the man is saying we haven't seen this man, our son, for the last 17 years. He's the only one. I paid for him all the way to university. I even sold pieces of land.
For him to get this job that
for
he's not
him
using
to get
to
this.
support us.
And I haven't seen anything from him.
I paid dowry for him.
Yeah? He's not supporting us.
You see the question comes
This is
to
an
my mind.
issue. This is a big one.
What goes through the mind of a parent to the point where they feel this thing they must take it to? What do you think they have undergone?
No, this basically tells you that they have, this man and his son have had issues for a while. There must be a reason why the son decided to keep off. There must be a reason why the son does not go home. There must be a reason. And by the time the old mzee decides, wewe nitakupeleka kotini, it tells you what kind of relationship these two have. It's not even about whether there is upkeep or not. It's about how these two are relating. Often we see where a man goes and demands for his inheritance from his father. They beat the father, they chop the father. There was very many stories that we read all the time. Now here is a man who's decided, keep off.
Definitely something. By the time you refuse to go, because all of those things that have been done for you do not go unnoticed, for sure. And by the time you decide to keep off, definitely something has happened that has strained the relationship. And then you say, look, I'd rather stay away than
What I'm saying is the complete opposite, actually.
Yeah.
There are people who, once they have gotten to a point where they feel they're okay, they do not want the bother. It's not... There's nothing wrong. They just don't want the bother. This burden, they have a life to live. They want to do things. And looking after these old people and relatives is a strain on the things that you want to do with your life.
Sure, but CT, but look at the recounting of this story is that even he doesn't even come home to say hello.
Yeah, but if you come home, people will ask you for help. So you stay away from home. You give it as much distance as possible. I'm saying this because I have seen such people.
Okay.
It's not that I'm thinking. I have seen. I even know such people.
So someone just decides that this is...
No.
This is
Them, They actually, all these traditional
They sabotage.
all this structure that assisted him or was part of his life, he just cuts and moves on. Creates new friends, does his own thing. He does not want to be part of that. Well, it catches up with them usually. It usually does. Oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes,
There'll be a funeral.
My friend, you've read my mind. And it's at home.
Yes.
That's when the story is told.
That's when it starts.
Yes. And you get to see and you wonder, hey, because some don't even talk to village mates. Some don't bother with the neighbors. And again, a problem arises where these people become fundamental to everything that's happening around you. And they decide to pay you in kind. They also keep their distance.
They don't know what you're doing, so...
I'm telling you, when I say I have seen it, I know...
But you've also seen where man and son basically just are at loggerheads.
I have seen...
Sometimes because man is just a problem.
Not only that, I've seen where the father or the parents are a problem.
Yes.
They are the problem. The child is trying their best
to do the thing.
Yes, is really. You can see this person is really trying, but the parents somehow they demand. So the guy says, you know something, I'm going to do what I'm doing from a distance, but you're not going to see me from this point onwards. Yes, that I've also seen.
Let me do one more story before then we can look into the next hour. Sindio? A ploy by the anti-graft agency to bait a senior detective in Nyeri into accepting a bribe has backfired, turning into a major attempted bribery bust by the police. Yes? The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is at loggerheads with the police over its use of unconventional tactics to entrap officers over corruption allegations. So this is what happened. It was in Madeira. There's a land issue in a family. Okay? Man takes family to court because of land. Man wins case. This is now the report according now to the EACC statement, and then we look at the police. Man wins case, okay? But the family is not satisfied. The family goes to the police, and they find a senior DCI officer. And the senior DCI officer, now working on the behest of the other family that lost the case, comes for this man. And, starts saying, we're going to arrest you. In fact, he's arrested, put in for a couple of days. He's told, for you to gain your freedom, you've got to chuck some cash. He parts with 20,000 shillings.
Okay.
DCI comes and says, you need to give me 200,000 shillings. You need to bring 180. I have 20. You need to bring 180. So man is like, siwache basi nikatafute. He goes and reports to the EACC, allegedly. The EACC tell him, it's a DCI officer. He's asking for money. What we're going to do is, we normally have some special cash for that. Such kind of operation, okay? So what we're going to do is we will give you the money. Then you will go to his office and give him the money. And our officers will be
right behind you.
Right behind you, and we will pounce. Man does that. Man goes to the police station. Man finds DCI officer. Man enters the room with DCI officer. DCI officer notices, these are the guys hanging around. DCI officer, radar up. These are EACC people. So what does the DCI officer do? DCI officer calls other officers and says, come. This man is trying to bribe me.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah. This man is trying to bribe me. In fact, Inspector so-and-so, you have a mobile phone. Please record what is happening here. So-and-so, ransack this man. Search him. You'll find he has money. Find money. Count, 150. You are trying to bribe an officer of the law. Wewe ndani. These other people who are hanging around, kujeni, can you give your identity? No, we can't give you identity. What? No, arrest them too. No, we are EACC officers. All of you, ndani. So now, the sting by the EACC
gets them
backfires and gets them stung. That is what happened.
But he had already recorded a statement at the EACC saying that this and this was happening.
Yes, that is an attempt to, extort me from a senior DCI officer. Senior DCI officer, now he says, have I touched any money?
Me.
This money was found in your person. Sasa.
They bungled it.
Yeah. Even them, why were they hanging around there? Like
they bungled it.
Sharp DCI guy. He was like, hivi, alibakisha hapa.
My friend, had you touched that money?
Alibakisha hii aende ndani. Very interesting one. This one coming from Madera in Nyeri County. Keep it right here for more stories in the next hour. Have a lovely morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4
This is Newsroom.
Spice
Dennis
FM.
Aseto. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has castigated President Uhuru Kenyatta for appearing to ask Kenyans to back the presidential candidature of his handshake partner, ODM leader Raila Odinga. Mudavadi further appeared to come to the defense of Deputy President William Ruto, whom the head of state accused of moving too fast on his presidential ambitions.
If people are worried that the young people are running very fast, then they must wake up to the reality that the young people are tired of us going too slowly. The young people want to see results. Yes. The young people want jobs. Yes. You cannot continue to live in a nation where a young graduate is waiting for 10 years to get a job. Yes. So even the young people of ANC wanasema mumalize haraka mtoe jamu huko mbele.
Now, before dust settled and situation restored to normal at Malindi School following the arson attack that left dormitories destroyed and parents together with school administration seeking to find ways to repair the damages caused, Form 4 students of Malindi High School have been sent home indefinitely after they allegedly threatened to burn this institution. Siaya County Director of Education Nelson Sifuna confirmed that the students had refused to sit for internal mock exams which were supposed to be done on Monday next week. The incident comes just 3 days after the 6 students who'd been arrested in connection with the dormitory fire were set free without being charged due to lack of evidence. Now, Shinyalu MP Justice Kizito is expected in court today after being detained following his arrest yesterday by police officers in Kakamega on suspicion of involvement in a land dispute. Kakamega County Investigating Officer James Layla said the arrest warrant was issued for allegedly inciting people to damage property on the disputed piece of land. The MP is also facing charges of resisting arrest, where he and several of his supporters confronted officers who had been sent to arrest him earlier yesterday.
In a case of malicious damage to property, the DCI went to the law courts and attempted to arrest the MP, but it caused some drama. Being shielded by about 8 people who were accompanying the MP, attempted to resist arrest, but officers used reasonable means and were able to arrest the MP. So we have Honorable Kizito, the MP for Kakamega East, in custody.
At least 26 million people are struggling for food following consecutive poor rainfall season in the Horn of Africa. Drought conditions in northern Kenya, much of Somalia and southern Ethiopia are predicted to persist until at least mid-2022, putting lives at risk. The situation is already so bad that wild animals are dying in the hundreds and herders are reporting losses of up to 70% of their livestock. These, as the government and other non-state actors have started providing relief food to the affected. ODM leader Raila Odinga has maintained that every Kenyan will receive medical insurance covers in his government if he becomes president after the 2022 elections. While speaking at the opening of the KMTC Awendo campus in Migori County, Odinga reiterated that his administration will cater for those who will not be able to pay for the insurance. Odinga also promised that medical and health facilities shall be upgraded to ensure there is a level 5 hospital in every sub-county. He added that robust training will be offered to health workers. Now, Uganda's military has confirmed sending troops into the Democratic Republic of Congo against Allied Democratic Forces rebels. Uganda blames the ADF for a series of bombings in the country. Uganda has sent ground forces into the Democratic Republic of Congo in the ongoing armed operation against the Allied Democratic Forces rebel group. Brigadier Flavia Biekeso, the Uganda Army spokesperson, confirmed to VOA that after it used artillery and airstrikes earlier this week against the ADF, Uganda sent in ground troops. The Ugandan army has not revealed how many ground soldiers have been sent into the DRC. To sports, and Cristiano Ronaldo became the first player in history to score 800 top-level career goals when he struck twice for Manchester United in a 3-2 win over Arsenal yesterday. It was a typical Ronaldo response to recent suggestions that his style of play might not suit the pressing approach favoured by incoming interim manager Ralph Rangnick, who was at Old Trafford for the first time since his appointment to watch the Portuguese reach the remarkable landmark. Ronaldo's double took him to 130 goals across 2 spells for United, adding to 5 for Sporting Lisbon, 450 for Real Madrid, 101 for Juventus, and 115 for Portugal. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Inbound to the city not looking too terrible this morning, and we're looking at traffic building up. However, going past North Airport Road into the city, or going through Outer Ring. So now that has built up some. Southern Bypass also taking a hit today. So the most of the traffic that you're going to see outbound on Mombasa Road is right between the General Motors and then towards the Maradaima, where that whole construction of underground piping and electricity lines are being sorted. That is the issue. People have been asking what's happening around Maradaima from morning till night. That's what it is. They're laying cables and they're laying piping before they now come back and finish. So that is what is slowing things down considerably. Okay? All right. Getting towards the roundabouts from Landis Road at the Kamkunji roundabout, that slows down some. And on Langata Road, that has already built up quite significantly. So we're looking at traffic on the Thika Superhighway as well as Kiambu Road this morning. Things are actually not too terrible. We're not in traffic hour just yet, but it looks like things are picking up and not too bad right now. Let's talk in a bit and see what happens on your side. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. We'll take a look at what's happening in other parts of the country this Friday.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
It's 7
Room.
minutes after 7. How are you doing? Happy Friday. It's the 3rd day of December 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the second hour. We are here until 10 a.m. CT Muga has the day's proverb.
Right. Asijua kucheza husema wacha nivae nguo.
In English?
One who doesn't know how to dance will say, let me dress first. Let me get ready. Let me be prepared.
To be an excuse. Basically, it's just an excuse for not getting out.
I do not want to get involved in politics because it is a dirty game, okay?
I don't want to expose myself. I know that I'm not good in this.
Yes. That's really the bottom line, but you won't quite put it that way, will you? And then the issue of dance, I was thinking about it. It isn't that you don't know how to dance. It may be you don't know the current and the modern dance moves, but you do know how to dance. Because even if you're dancing offbeat, you're dancing. Even if you're dancing to the next song, you're dancing.
Yeah, but everybody else will not call it a dance.
Isn't that their problem, really?
They'll just say, oh, this is your movement. Oh, this is this and the other. It's their problem.
It's their problem.
Live your life.
Yes, I mean...
Who says my dance is and yours is better than mine?
If the moves suit you and somebody else thinks they are uncoordinated, it's their problem.
They're the one who are...
You are doing fine with it. It's a dance, for heaven's sake.
Let's not make it a thing of academia here.
It's a dance.
There's a dance and then there's just movement.
My friend, all dance is movement. And all dance is some form of walking.
You don't just come here to, and this is a specific dance. It's a ta-ta or whatever, and then you're doing your own thing.
Eric, when I watch documentaries, when I watch movies of what people call a rave, and then I listen to music that in the time when I listened to music, something called acid rock, okay? people dancing to it. They're just jumping up and down and waving their hands in the air. That's really what they're doing.
Those are those people. So those people who did not know how to dance.
Yes.
They congregated.
Yes. And then I juxtapose it with, you know how it is when you have time on your hands and you're doing this. And I juxtapose it with a situation where the Africans dancing to, or Latinos dancing to their music. My friend, it's different.
It's beautiful stuff, man.
Not better, different. Now
you can imagine you're Latino. Okay.
And then you're seeing this other
and
person
then
just
people are
jumping
going
up
there.
and down.
Jumping up and down. You'll just go and sit down.
Exactly. But there's a popular song out in Kenya now. I don't remember the name of the young Kenyans who've done it. They're basically saying maisha ni yangu.
Yes.
Washughulika na yako.
Yes.
Mimi.
Wewe, live your life. Leave mine alone. If I want to dance, I'll dance.
Leave us alone.
Eric, have you ever seen, for instance, when these politicians are at the podium and some music playing, and then they're all trying to do a jig? It is one of the most hilarious things you can actually ever
Everybody
watch.
doing everything.
Yes, you can tell somebody who at least took time to dance when they're in school.
Maybe got a beat.
And got the beat. You can see there's like a little rhythm. Somebody who just decided that school was for studying and then is now colliding with this music at this particular point in their lives.
Colliding with the music.
And you can see the music is winning.
All right. So let's talk about COVID and what's happening in Kenya and around the world, right? So there's now this new Omicron variant of COVID-19, which is all over the world, but it was first very well documented and identified by South Africa.
Yes.
But it's everywhere. Kwanza in Germany, in Austria. In Germany, in 24 hours, they recorded some 433 deaths in just a span of 388 deaths in 24 hours. And they're saying many of the people who are getting the new infections because they're in the fourth wave are unvaccinated. So what the German leadership has done, Germany's national and regional leaders have agreed to bar unvaccinated people from much of public life in a bid to fend off a fourth wave of COVID-19. The outgoing Chancellor, Angela Merkel, who is Chancellor until she hands over to her successor on Wednesday next week, described the far-reaching measures as an act of national solidarity. Only those who've been vaccinated or recently recovered from COVID will be allowed in restaurants, cinemas, leisure facilities, and many shops. This one is basically heading towards somewhere. Under the measures agreed by Germany's 16 states and the federal leaders, unvaccinated people will be limited to meetings with their own households and 2 other people. The 2G rule will be enforced at restaurants and cultural venues and non-essential shops. And the 2G rule is the people who have recovered in 6 months and those who have been vaccinated. If you've recovered within the last 6 months or you've been vaccinated, you'll be allowed to enter restaurants, cultural venues, and non-essential shops. Clubs will shut in areas where 350 cases have been recorded per 100,000 people in the past 7 days. So in a certain area where we see a spike in infections, shut down the clubs there. Up to 30 million vaccinations will be carried out by Christmas. First or second dose or booster. Outdoor events, including the Bundesliga football, will have limited crowds of 15,000 people. Fireworks on New Year's Eve will be banned. What they're moving towards here is what Angela Merkel has said, we may have to get to this situation where we actually make it mandatory for everybody in Germany to be vaccinated by February next year. There's also concern about the spread of the Omicron variant, which the EU health officials warn is likely to cause over half of all COVID cases in the next few months. Angela Merkel says hospitals are stretched to the point of patients having to be moved to different areas for treatment, and the fourth wave must be broken. Given the situation, I think it's appropriate to adopt compulsory vaccination, she said, while making clear that this would have to be approved by Parliament. And the incoming Chancellor has also said, yes, I support that move for compulsory vaccination. Basically, it's already started by saying if you're unvaccinated, if you don't have a COVID vaccine, you cannot access this, and the other in public places. You're already trying to say compulsory vaccination before the law is in place. Austria is doing the same. Is it the way to go?
Compulsory? In the line of yes. Because of variables, right? And the variables that I'm looking at now is, number one, you don't want a further spread and high rates of infection. Or, as you know, keep your infection rates as low as possible. This is the variable that you're dealing with here, number one. You want to offer this first line of defense and protection to your people. You don't want to get into a situation whereby at some point you were teetering on full hospitals and then the medical the system taking a hit in the manner in which it did. And easily as being prescribed and saying, this is the one sure thing that will protect us to a certain extent, protect us to a certain degree. Do you want to be compulsory about it? Then I say yes. Why? Because you found that some people have been reluctant in doing this. And those that have been reluctant, unfortunately, those who've not gotten, are then some of the first to be infected. Same countries where we've seen the Netherlands, we've seen Germany, we have seen Austria. That the first people who got infected were those who had not been vaccinated. In as much as you had people who were vaccinated getting reinfected, their symptoms then were not as bad as those who are not. So I think at some point, if you're going to continue dealing, because we're looking at a totally different situation from Kenya, for example. In Germany, the vaccines are available. You walk into your local pharmacy, they're like your Rite Aid, it is there. You walk into your dispensary, clinic, and then higher ups in terms of hospitals, it is available. You can actually go and get it, right?
Yep.
So it's not a matter of how do you make something that's not available then compulsory for us to get. It is available. You can understand the variables. So yes, then make it compulsory. If your aim is to make sure that everybody is protected, absolutely. Then go ahead and do it. These things that you want to be able to do. You want to be able to go out and socialize. You want to go to the parks. You want to go to the gyms. You want to go to the clubs. You want to be able to do that. The only way you can't do that is if you're sufficiently protected. And if you still have people then dancing about, okay, I don't really want to do this because of my rights, etc., etc., you also have a right to protect other people from getting sick. Or rather, the mandate is upon you to make sure that you are protected so that others are inadvertently protected. So yes, all those variables being in place, if the vaccine is available and you know that people can get it, if you know that what you're trying to do is protect the entire populace, then yes, make it compulsory. And let's stop dancing about this thing. Just go get the thing, get protected. Because as we keep saying, we're running after this COVID. Like Dr. Mercy Correa said from the very beginning, we are running after it. It's already doing its thing. We're trying to keep up with it. And so every day, every 3 weeks, every quarter, we know something that we did not know before. So with what you're presented at this time, you know that you're getting some form of defense with the vaccination. Get it. If we get to a point where it be something else, then we'll deal with it as we get there, as we have been dealing with all these things that have come along. When COVID made its entrance into the world in December, before, the things we know now, we did not know then. We do not know everything about it. We do not know where it's going to go. But with what we've been presented today, here now, deal with it as it is, and then we move on.
Okay. CT?
You know, this is a tricky question. Tricky in this sense. Huh? Do exactly put it well. You bring in many discussions. There's the discussion of what you call what is in the public interest, what is for the public good. And then, alongside it, you have to discuss the individual rights of people, what people, by law, are entitled to. Entitled. Not that they're given on Sunday or on a day when someone is feeling good or is happy and feeling generous. They're entitled to. Every day of the week, morning, evening, day and night, they're entitled to. But alongside this discussion has always been one little sticky point. Has enough been done to convince the naysayers? Is there effort constantly being made to get them to change their minds? Because with people who are resistant, if you bring the element of enforcement, that's it. What you've done is you've entrenched their position. Now, because they will feel, so you think that you can lord it over me because of this, that, and the other. It is a more difficult path to follow, to try and convince people. But in my mind, it is a more desirable path. Because you get a far, far better outreach if you actually convert a naysayer. If you bring someone on board who was at the forefront of saying this can't work, you actually get to be able to pull in others who might not have been. And it is good. It means that as you try to convince someone, what you're also communicating is that you actually have their interests at heart. And you're taking into account what they think and why it is that they have the position they have. If you force, you're telling them your view doesn't matter. At least that's what they're likely to perceive. And what I'm telling you is what must go. Again, they'll tell you, really? That's what you think. Okay, let's go then. Let's see how this is going to work out. Now, it's a discourse that will continue. Our situation in Kenya is somewhat a bit different. It's different in this sense. Huh? All the boxes that Ndu has ticked, vaccine available, local pharmacy, forget even hospital, yes, pharmacy. Because after all, you can get it at the pharmacy. Okay? Available. All you need to do is to present yourself in order to get it. That's it.
Yep.
We can't say that here.
Yep.
Okay? So when you talk about our numbers, you're talking about a situation and a construct that's completely different. When you talk about human rights, we're just beginning to figure out this human rights thing. And I'm going to explain what I mean. We somehow still think that the government is the law and what the government says is what you must do, even when you think it is wrong. You've heard me say we are passive-aggressive as Kenyans. What I really think, I will not tell you. Even when I disagree with you, I will not actually not tell you, especially if I think you're an authority figure.
That's very true.
The best I will do is say, yeah. When I really pull on that, yes, I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
That is very true.
You know you have a point. I'm actually disagreeing with you. Yes, I'm still disagreeing with you. Now, in a situation such as ours again, what do you think is the reality? You keep being told people don't want to be vaccinated. And the truth is that's not true. It's not true. There are some people who don't want to be vaccinated. But the vast majority, how many times when the first vaccines came into the country and they were vaccinating elderly people, vulnerable people, etc., then they said, okay, now they are available. How many queues in how many facilities did you see where people were queuing and there was no vaccination?
Many.
So you get fatigued. You figure, forget about this thing. We will deal with whatever comes next.
So we're dealing with two situations here. We are dealing with one society where the vaccine is available and access to information is vast and wide.
Very.
All right? So there are very many people in Germany's 83 million or so population that know about the vaccine.
They do.
They know where they can get it. They have access and direct access to it. They also have access to other information. And they have decided that they are not really sure about this vaccine thing yet.
Yes.
So they're either adopting a wait and see situation, or they've basically said, no, I'm not going for this. How many vaccines have been administered in Germany? Germany, according to there's some infographics here by Reuters, has administered at least 124,401,062 doses of COVID vaccines so far. 124,401,062. Assuming that every person needs 2 doses, that each of these has gotten 2 doses, it means about 74.8% of Germany's population has been vaccinated.
Yes.
Okay? That is 3/4 of the population done, vaccinated. And the vaccines are still available. There's a 25% population that are decided, for one reason or another, they have not gotten the vaccine. Others have said they are not going to get the vaccine. Vaccines are still being administered. So it's not that the 25% have all said they don't want to be vaccinated. You may find that those who do not want to be vaccinated are 10%.
Yes.
There's an extra 14% here who, they've been
thinking about it.
But they have not been completely opposed to it. Now, when you say, let's force everybody to be vaccinated, like you're asking, City, what about those people who have genuine concerns or fears? It's not that they don't know that there's COVID. Germany has witnessed very many deaths from COVID.
They have.
Germany has seen very many cases of COVID. How many deaths from COVID so far? 102,288 coronavirus-related deaths reported in the country since the pandemic began.
Those are many people.
6 million infections recorded. Those are many people. That means the population of Germany knows COVID, knows it leads to death. But there are people who have decided, I'm not sure. I say, listen to those people. Don't force them. Don't force them. Listen to them. And like you're saying, what effort has been made to sit them down, to take them through, to listen to their fears,
Yes.
to address their fears? What have you done?
You know, there's you know why I brought in our country? There is a mindset that anyone that goes with authority and position, that you do what I've told you. Okay? Yes, you can debate if you like. Just do what I've told you, but mostly debate with yourself. And don't debate with me, because I have said. Now, it's a traditional mindset that began God knows when, in antiquity, okay? But the reality is, when you are talking about a community at the time and a society where, remember, age went with very many things. Age was the bastion of knowledge. Age was the bastion of wisdom. Age was the encyclopedia, the Library of Congress. Age, okay? Anything that you wanted, the custodian of morality, the custodian of societal norms, age.
Institutional memory.
Yes. So the authority, it was a lot of authority that came with time and age and experience. So it made sense when somebody was told, respect your elders, do the other, because the net benefit was beyond Google search, okay? They were alive, they were part and parcel of it, and the things they would walk you through. We are saying they are still important. But in this modern day and age, because of the proliferation of knowledge and information, we're in the information age after all, we've discovered that dialogue and discourse is equally useful, if not more. The simple concept of asking somebody, what is your opinion on this matter? What do you think? Yes, you may be infinitely younger than I am, but I'm sure you have an opinion. What is your opinion? What do you think? Anyone who's an adult, anyone who's grown up, will always tell you of the things that they'd be told, they'd have a view, but they simply keep quiet about. And I'm thinking, how much more the parents would have benefited if they knew exactly what their children thought.
I think also, I'm just looking at other studies and what people have been able to put together, that it is that minority, it is the smaller percentage of people, for example, who have not been vaccinated, that the fear lies. Because the spread, I don't know if you remember a couple of months, actually it was many months ago now, when Dr. Mercy Correa shared that graph, where you have one person that has been infected, the numbers of people then that they would be able to infect just by moving around.
It's a network.
It's a network.
Yes.
And all you needed was one person. And then the consequences of the ripple effect, as a result of that one infection, then would be monumental in this entire network. And that's the fear that lies in anybody who tells you the little parameters of epidemiology, that what they're looking at is that fear, that smaller percentage of people then who have refused for whatever manner, especially when you're dealing with a disease of whose patterns you just still do not know. That the fear lies therein. We can't assume, just as you're saying, that all the information has been shared, or that people have been told this is a good thing to do, or that all their fears have been allayed. We're also looking at a part of the world where the anti-vaccine campaign is actually quite huge. Western Europe, we're looking at the southeast part of the continent, where we're looking at Australia and New Zealand and such. Western Europe is actually quite big when it comes to anti-vaxxers. Leave alone the fact that many anti-vaxxers actually get vaccinated. That's another story for a different day. But we're talking about people who refuse, not just for the sake of refusing, but they want to be explained to till the nth, which is all right. But because of the fact that you're dealing with something that you do not know, and it has already been prescribed that this could actually protect us until we get to know a little bit more, then in recent times, there hasn't been something that is killing or that is infecting 80,000 people, 75,000 people a day before COVID. Recently, there hasn't been. So something that shakes the totem pole like that, you want to deal with it as best you can.
Yes. And that's where the fears of the very many people who are not going for the vaccination stems from. Am I sure that this thing is actually providing me with sufficient protection? Or is it also going to harm me in the long run?
But this is the thing where the information that you're being given shows just that. That the information that we are given.
No one has done the long run yet.
No, but you can't do the long run for a disease that you do not know more about. And that's what I'm saying.
And the vaccine that you don't know more about. You see, the people are dealing with, I'd rather deal with this.
What we have been presented at the moment, that's the thing. That everybody has agreed that we do not know. You can't compare this to like polio or typhoid or even HIV, that you know a lot more, because this is still novel. It's less than 3 years old. You do not know, and even that, you don't know all the little patterns. You don't know the many variants.
And that's the thing, Ndu. Those who are dealing with this are saying there's one unknown about COVID.
Let me make my point.
I do not want to introduce a second unknown
let me make my point. What they do know right now, and they have said it very clearly, what they do know right now is that there is a film of protection and defense that this vaccine will give you. It has already been proven that those people who have been vaccinated and gotten reinfected, they have not seen terrible symptoms as compared to those who have been infected and not been vaccinated. That you do know. It's been proven. It's been seen. You do know. And that's what I'm saying. With what you do know, you can use right now.
You know what?
I'll counter that. I don't know what
what you're saying has been proven.
I don't know what is going to happen.
I'll counter what you're saying has been proven by asking for the data. There's no data.
I don't know what is going to happen if I take the vaccine. But you do know what can happen and what can be given to you if you take it now. You do know.
No, you don't. The people who are saying so don't know, because it hasn't been proven to them yet. That's the point that they are making. It has not been proven to them yet. Let's take a break. Come with the data. Okay? Come with the data that shows all those things that you're saying have been proven.
I don't have the data. I'm telling you what they have shown that has what they.
So now show me what they're saying. Show me what they've said.
No, I'm not going to do that.
7:30. Let's take a break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. "24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello, you've reached the Wish hotline. Your wish is our command.
Hello, neza make a wish?
Unaweza. What do you want to wish for?
I wish ningeondoa stress ya storage, packaging na shipping to my customers so I can focus more on growing my online business bila hizo hassles.
Try Sendy.
Sendy?
Yes, Sendy. You can download the fulfillment app and begin fulfilling with Sendy today.
Always wishing for a solution to manage your operations? Sendy Fulfillment is here to bring your wishes to life. We pick, store, pack, and ship your orders to your customers bila stress. Download the Sendy Fulfillment app today. Do more with Sendy.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family, and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of December.
The weather with Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi. Rain still coming down in different parts. Highs of 22 and lows of 15 today. At 15 degrees, partly sunny conditions in Nakuru. Highs of 23 and lows of 12. Nyeri town at 15 is cloudy. Highs of 22 and lows of 13. Eldoret, cloudy at 16. Highs of 24 and lows of 13. Mombasa is raining in some parts at 26. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. Partly sunny conditions in Malindi at 27. Highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is sunny at 21. Highs of 29 and lows of 19. And we're looking at sunny conditions at 21 in Kakamega, highs of 29 and lows of 16. Kampala is sunny at 20, highs of 26 and lows of 19. Dar es Salaam, light rain at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. We're looking at cloudy conditions at 17 in Johannesburg, highs of 27. 34 will be the high in a cloudy Lagos at 26. And it's raining in Kinshasa at 23, highs of 32. Back down to lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
We're in traffic hour now, coming off of North Airport Road, going towards the Eastern Bypass and then out towards the Pipeline Interchange and then out towards the Donholm Interchange as well. Traffic has built up considerably. We're looking at traffic throughout industrial area, that entire circuit. Jogo Road then going out into the city at Landis and then out towards the Kamkunji roundabout. That continues. Gong Road has built up. Rilo Dinga Way, got it right today. We have quite some traffic going out towards Gong Road at the City Mortuary roundabout. That continues. And Langata Road as well. Piled up quite some. Coming out of Westlands, use the Red Hill Link Road. Don't even bother with this whole Waikaway story. You're just going to get stuck. You'll get frustrated. You'll be rained on. Just use the Red Hill Link Road. Seriously, it's going to help sort out issues. Okay? Coming off of the Thika Superhighway, sorry, there's no bypass from there unless you want to turn back and use the Eastern. But you'll get through this without too much of a scratch. Right? For now, at least. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Text 40127.
There are times when you want to get the latest news from wherever you are. You're not near your TV and you want to get access to news. You can actually catch up with live news because there are news channels like KTN Home is there, CNN is there as well. And you can catch up with all this from wherever you are on your mobile device if you subscribe to Showmax. Because with Showmax, you get access to live news. You also get access to many of your favorite series. You get access to movies as well, and you can watch them wherever you are. Sometimes you just sit at, maybe you've gone for a hospital checkup, and you just sit there and you're wondering, okay, number 17 on the queue. Each person is taking 5 minutes. How long is it going to take? You can open your calculator and count, and then just log on to your Showmax and catch up with your favorite show. Sounds good, City.
It sounds very good, actually.
It's a plan.
It's a good plan, and also, see, the concept, idea, and the reality of a smartphone has actually become affordable in more ways than one. There was a time it was genuinely unaffordable. You hear smartphone, you're thinking loads and loads of money.
Yep.
Now, it can be smart and not that expensive. So what you're saying, yes, plausible reality.
Sitting wherever you are and you're just following your favorite show, or you decide, let me catch up with a movie, or you're watching something live, or there's live streaming of a sports event, and you're just there, you're following it, right? On Showmax, we'll tell you how to subscribe to Showmax, but right now, just log on to www.showmax.com.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
22 minutes to 8.
94.
We're looking at the spread of COVID-19. There's a big wave that's happening, especially in Western Europe. And parts of those countries have basically decided, people must get vaccinated. It's no longer an issue of if, please, tafadhali. No. Austria says from February next year, it'll be mandatory. Germany is already indicating that they also want to go that route. In fact, they've started yesterday. Angela Merkel says that the federal government and the other regional governments have agreed to have some restrictions on people who are not vaccinated. Remember what our health minister had said a couple of weeks ago until that court order was issued to stop him, saying that next week, if you don't have a COVID vaccine, you're not going to be able to get government services if you don't have a COVID vaccine certificate. There's a move then by the world to push the population into mandatory vaccination. And the question we're asking this morning is, do you support mandatory vaccination for COVID-19? So, Ndu.
Yes. Okay, so according to the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, which if we're looking at heavily involved in global research and then oftentimes are giving the recommendations in terms of medicine practice and then moving on towards pharmacology and such.
Yes.
Right? Millions of people have received COVID-19 vaccines since they were authorized for emergency use by Food and Drug Administrations of different countries. Right? COVID-19 vaccines have undergone and will continue to undergo the most intensive safety monitoring, especially from those who develop them. A growing body of evidence has shown that these vaccines are safe and effective, right? Vaccine adverse event reporting systems having been set in place, vaccine safety data links have been set up, articles from some of the world's, interestingly enough, including very many medical practitioners from the continent, talking about the fact that these vaccines, having been given their approval and having been developed by the same bodies that develop medicines that we use today for prevention and treatment of other diseases that human beings suffer from, have said, you can't go ahead and use these. Some of the fears that have been brought about in terms of fertility issues or many other things that many people who may not want to take these vaccinations have actually been put to bed and said, look, we've done the research and we found out that it is all right. The reasons as to why people would not want to be vaccinated are best known to them. But at the same time, same organizations are telling us that, you know what, in terms of your first line of protection, before we can figure out what is going to happen next, before we can figure out where this thing will take us, right now, in terms of your first line of protection, this vaccine is your best bet. Now, if your aim is to protect your people, the general population, from this thing that we still do not know, right? It's like saying, here we live without a fence. And you know that there are bandits. You don't know when they are going to come. You don't know at what time of day they might come to attack you. But put up a fence so that in case somebody tries to open the door, you get that alarm and you get that warning. And then you can then do something about it later. Essentially, that's what the vaccine is doing for you, to give you that first line of protection. Because they've seen, after having studied, that those who did receive it are even though they might get COVID again, would not get it as badly or would not suffer from the symptoms as badly as they would had they not received the vaccine. CDC has told us this.
You know, if you look at the efforts that the world keeps making to keep its population safe, and you look at countries that are always grappling, especially in this cold season, with some form of influenza or the other, what Eric was saying comes to the fore. There's so much they still don't know. And if you come from those countries and every year you're being given a new variety of vaccine or booster shot for the influenza and what have you, and if you get historical about it and look at even the Spanish flu, you talk about 1918, do you know there are things that despite all that debate and finding out, people still don't know. And there is no universality of agreement as to everything. There are agreements on certain things. So, reality of the virus is this. The naysayers have a really strong point, to be honest. When you have a situation where there's so much you don't know, against the background of things which are known, you have every reason to cast aspersion and say, okay, I've gotten what you say we know. But this thing that we don't know, because we don't know it, we don't know the harm it could actually cause. So I would require a little conversation to explain to me further so that this is what I think. This thing that is known about it and which is positive, let it influence this thing of mine, this situation that I find myself in. Having worked in the field of HIV and AIDS for a long time, one of the most difficult things we found was getting people to understand that ARVs had to be taken for life. And you've heard me say this before. The problem was not the drugs. The problem was our understanding and idea of what medicine does. Medicine you take when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling bad, and you're feeling genuinely sick. When you start feeling better, it means the medicine has worked, so you stop taking the medicine. Now, same attitude towards antibiotics, same attitude towards ARVs. So people would default. And in defaulting, resistance. You know what? That living organism called the virus figures out, oh, this is what's happening. Okay? Now, it's the same thing. These booster shots and these efforts that we keep, it's because of the understanding that if you don't keep this up, this virus is going to outsmart you. Because it sees what you're doing, it sees the harm, and it's constantly also fighting to survive. That's all it's doing. It's not seeking to harm you. That's not its intention. It's its process of staying alive that is actually harming you. Now, you know, when I look at the gains that have been made, there was a little problem that people brought to our attention. So, you know, these drugs that you're giving us, they used to call it Andela. Why they call it Andela? You know how you chew gum, you eat food. What do you do with groundnuts? Do you munch them? Do you chew them? Do you crunch them? What do you do? Yes, now.
You chew.
Yes, no. Chewing is generally the amalgam definition of what we do when we eat.
You munch the groundnut.
Yes, well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. The Luo language has a very specific term
for eating groundnuts.
Ndela. So
you pop them.
Or is it eating one?
You pop it one, exactly.
One. So it's like you're popping pills.
Utamwanjugu ni kuila moja moja.
Basi. So they gave it a nickname because in the days when you were given something like a whole pharmacy of drugs to walk around with, okay, somebody would say, you know, it's my time, and they would pop one. So they were called Andela. Now, by the time people gave it a nickname, what it told you was that the stigma had reduced. People were talking about it openly. Not everyone, but somebody could say, I need to take my Andela. Meaning, it's not something that is an issue. Because when you say, because when you're saying so, you're saying, I am HIV positive.
Right.
The problem that we're told is, you know, these ARVs are bad. I said, why? I said, people who previously were clearly sick are now looking better than they looked before. So you don't know. Now, you may think it's a non-issue, but it was an issue. Because someone isn't going to tell you I'm HIV positive.
Yeah.
How do you get around this? How do you have this discussion? Because the discussion now is, are you in a position to have a discussion about your condition? Or are you in a position to interrogate the position or of someone whom you want to have a relationship with, or are you willing to have that conversation?
But what happened, CT? By the time these folks, just from what you've seen, by the time folks are ready to have a conversation, it's probably been years. Somebody who's living with HIV,
it is a
and by
long time.
Right, so they're ready to have this conversation. But by the time this readiness was accompanied by understanding, this readiness was accompanied by experience. So your body then, and then you got to know a little bit more about it. So you said, okay, I kind of understand this thing. Right? So the comprehension and experience came about as a result of then having to deal with this thing on a daily basis.
Over a long period of time.
Right. This is how my body reacts. Maybe when I first got it, I really didn't know what to do or how to. But then as I got information from my doctor or from trends that were coming about in the world and other people were talking about certain things, what am I saying? That in the beginning, surely you would have had doubts. Maybe you didn't know, well, am I going to die tomorrow? There's certain things that I can do to make sure that the quality of my life is increased, or that the longevity then is also increased. Can I do that? Probably in the beginning you didn't know, right? And nobody was really telling you because they didn't know either. But they were giving you suggestions. They were saying, based on what we have studied today, the likelihood of X happening is based on 1, 2, 3, right? So we can try this. I am sure that today there are certain medications or interventions that are being used that were not being used at the onset of HIV.
Oh, many.
Right?
Many.
And at that time, when they started out, they would have said, you know what, this is looking like it's going to work. And maybe for some, it did work at that time. And they said, you know what, folks, for all of us who may be infected at this time, let's use this intervention, right? Did people jump on it? Why? Yes, why? Because they did not know anything else. And the people who had studied this thing in the science had an idea that it would work.
Yes. You know,
so they used it.
I'm speaking here as somebody who has taken both jabs of the AstraZeneca. Okay?
Fully vaccinated?
Fully vaccinated. My family is fully vaccinated. Well, my daughter just got her, 17-year-old daughter just got her Pfizer. Okay? So when it comes to vaccine, I will be there. If they bring in a booster, I'll be there. But the question that I'm opposed to, right, the issue that I'm opposing is what I'm seeing a trend in the world of suppressing alternative views and opinions. That there are people who are sitting there and they're asking, they're raising several questions. So how has this been developed? So what impact is it going to have? What kind of effect? Is it as effective as they say? Oh, 90% effective, 70% effective. Is it really effective? How much does it protect me? What kind of side effects am I likely to have? Remember, it was allowed to be rolled out across the globe on a trial basis. So it's still in development. So there are people who are thinking, it's still in development. I do not want to be one of the specimens. Those are alternative views. There are others who are saying, I think there could be something else that we could do. They are not saying, they are not anti-COVID. They are just anti this vaccine as of now. And there's a push by the world to suppress anything like that. Saying if you go onto social media and you post this, your YouTube channel is blocked. Your Facebook page is flagged. If you come out in any public space, you are told by the government, no, you are spreading malicious information and wrong information. This is the issue that I have an issue with. Now mandating and saying you must take the vaccine if you have to get out of your house. This is what I'm against. The suppression of alternative views. That is fundamentally wrong. That's why, remember the other day we were talking about the example of Galileo. The world, scientists, the church, everybody knew the world is flat. And then this one guy comes and starts saying,
actually, guys,
the world is round. The next thing he starts telling us, you know, the sun is not the one that rises and sets. It is the world that moves around.
Heresy. Heresy.
The Pope ordered for his arrest. Pope.
He was disturbing the world order.
Ordered for his arrest.
You know something, Eric? There's something to be said about this discussion, and this is it really. In the absence of such a discussion, the progress that we've seen in the pharmaceutical, in the medical, in the clinical, in the world of health wouldn't actually take place. Because whatever is produced has to be questioned. And that is why every time you buy a drug, if you buy all of it in the box, there is a piece of paper that has been folded very, very many times that is put in there.
Yes.
You open it, you're amazed at how large it is. With print that you need a magnifying glass to read. But they tell you the whole story of what it is you're about to take and the contraindications. For the world to get to that point where they do that, a lot happened.
Yep.
Because for the longest time, a lot of drugs were experimental. We just didn't think they were experimental. They did one or two things, but you didn't really know what they really did beyond what you're saying, which was good. I am in full agreement with you that in the name of progress and science, one shouldn't push and one shouldn't insist on stifling voices that are contrary to what the common grain seems to consider to be the norm. They shouldn't be stifled. Because they raise issues that may not be seen to be pertinent, but it's pertinent to them. And they're just as important as the people who don't have those same views as them. Now, that balance is a tricky one. You see, if you work in the world of research, this is something you grapple with on a daily basis. And the thing that research does for you, which many people will tell you, it opens doors you didn't even know existed. You set out to do one thing. You figure out and discover things you didn't know about. Questions you've never raised, issues you've never had, suddenly come to the fore and you're having to deal with them. Now, if we're talking about medication, we're talking about drugs, we're talking about health of human beings, in this age of information, now just take a little bit and give your mind a telescopic perspective, how robust do you think that discussion is going to be?
Very.
And it must be.
And especially when you get to a point where within a year, the people who've developed the vaccine say, all right, so what you need is just 2 shots, and you're good to go. Before this, before they had even approved it, the conversation around the world was, what we need to do is seek a way of getting what? Herd immunity. So herd immunity of getting as many people infected as possible was like, no. This is not going to work. We changed and said herd immunity of getting as many people in the population as possible vaccinated. When you get a sufficient number, more than half, more than 2/3 of the population vaccinated, there's herd immunity. Germany has 2/3 and more of its population vaccinated. How many new cases are we seeing of COVID? So that herd immunity question, you're like, wait. So if...
Explain this herd immunity
if
again.
74% of the population has gotten a full jab of the vaccine, why are we still dealing with such a serious wave?
Eric,
I thought the conversation was about herd immunity. Then we start talking about, get a booster shot.
No,
so the people who are questioning have to have those questions.
Eric, one of the things that you'll find is true of the world of research, and this is something that the world of research not has understood, it's continuing to understand, is the communication aspect. See, most people in research talk to themselves. And they assume that so long as they're talking and they understand, everybody else is understanding. And everyone is not understanding. And that is why it is mandatory when you've conducted a research project and it has involved the human subject, you must have and tell them at the very beginning, when the results are, we will come and tell you our findings. Just like we've come to tell you to participate, we will come and tell you
the findings.
So that you understand. And they're also understanding that it is not explained to them the scientific aspect. No. Break it down so that what you understand is the same thing they will understand. So you have to understand what that conversation is still ongoing because it hasn't been fully achieved. There was something called thalidomide. It was developed as a drug for morning sickness. Very successful drug for morning sickness. But you know what it did? You know, when you have morning sickness, you're expectant. There were cases of children being born, this is in the previous century, with an arm growing on your chest, a leg growing on your neck. I say this, it sounds humorous, but that's what happened. The disfigurement like you've never seen before. Of course. By the time they were bringing it to a close. Why do I mention thalidomide? It's because of the horrors it caused. There are very many drugs, if anybody who's been following this knows, have side effects that are terrible. There was an HIV drug that was developed. Man, that thing killed the virus. The problem is it killed the host.
Yeah.
It was corrosive. Now, what am I saying? In the absence of these questions, it is next to impossible for the check and balance that is required as we make this progress to continue. You can't stifle voices that differ. You can't. You are actually hampering your own progress if you do so.
How then do you balance? Because what we are seeing in these countries, in Austria, in Germany, in Kenya, even when the Muthui Kagwe, is what you believe to be the greater public good versus all these other small details of, dealing with the naysayers, convincing them, putting them in a room, blah, 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 blah. What comes first?
What comes first is you understanding how it is you ought to manage your health process. And so long as we are focused on the curative aspects of healthcare as opposed to preventative, so long as we don't focus on empowering community health workers and people who understand this world but are community-based and understand the messaging and the language that is understood with the people who need it most, we'll be going round in circles. Because this issue of community health, the conversation has caught on and it's catching on, but it hasn't caught on enough. Because when you have people communicating these very same issues at the level of the community and the people the community knows and trusts, that message gets home. You come from your shiny, swanky office to go and communicate that thing. They look at you, they say, okay, the big shot has come, let's listen. Then you go, they get on with their business.
They dismiss you quickly.
The community health worker lives there. So when you have an issue, you know where you go and talk to them again, they'll explain it to you. It's the whole approach. This top-down approach usually comes in when somebody isn't quite sure that they have a handle on this thing that they have. So now they start giving you Sasa, this is what you're going to do. And you're telling him, get lost. Explain it further, then we will do exactly what you're saying. But Please explain it first.
It's an issue of just dealing with it like a chief. Chief Barazas is where chief comes and tells you.
Yes, and your job is to listen.
Your job is to listen and implement what chief has said. And you know the consequences. Tutawakamata kama msipovaa mask. Tutawakamata utashikwa, utalala ndani.
And the examples are also given of so and so.
Fulani.
Kichwa ngumu.
Keep it right here for more conversations in the next hour. We have, yesterday we could have had Justice Thursdays, but we pushed it to today because our guest was not available yesterday. He's available today. He's here. The Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, who is also the Chairman of the Judiciary Committee on Elections. So how is the judiciary preparing for elections and all the expected petitions that will come out of the 2022 election? Are you ready for this? Are you not? Who else are you working with in the other arms of government? This is the conversation to have. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Maceto. Detectives from the Homicide Unit are ready to travel to the United Kingdom to conclude investigations into the brutal murder of Agnes Wanjiru by British soldiers. DCI boss George Kinoti told the National Assembly Defence and Foreign Relations Committee that the elite homicide unit of the police are only waiting for feedback from the UK authorities.
Our team is on standby for departure to United Kingdom, where they are going not only to interview the suspect, but also the witnesses who have already been named here, who are together with the suspect during the time of the commission of this murder. There are two outcomes which, sir, we are expecting. We may get a confession or an admission of the commission of the offence, and that could be much easier for us.
Describing the painful death of the victim, he said that Agnes was dumped in a septic tank while still alive and that the autopsy conducted indicated that she died due to chest and abdominal pains. Wanjiru's body was found 2 months after she disappeared in March 2012.
Dr. Obiero Okoh opined that the cause of death was due to chest and abdominal injuries. He further observed that the deceased could not have been placed in the septic tank alive, as injuries sustained were not fatal enough to kill her. Persons of interest, British Army soldiers, with effort by the initial investigators to interview the British Army soldiers who were at the Lions Court Hotel on the material night, were futile as they had already left the country. The Lions Court Hotel provided a risk to the British Army soldiers who were booked into the hotel on the 1st March 2012 when the deceased went missing.
President Uhuru Kenyatta says despite the disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic, an additional 14,779 youth had been enrolled to the NYS program this year. Speaking at the NYS Pass-Out Parade, the head of state said that this was a step in ensuring that more youth joined the program.
One of the issues that we have pondered over is how we can prepare every Kenyan youth for their personal destiny. The interventions that we have put in place include fostering greater access to technical and vocational education, creating a framework through which our youth would have greater access to government procurement opportunities, creation and expansion of youth affirmative action funds, as well as the expansion of this NYS program. Indeed, through the NYS training programs, we now have a critical mass of employable youth with a reputation for discipline, diligence, and hard work.
Uhuru also said that the NYS tracking system, which is active, has become a reference point of choice for employers in search of disciplined employees.
The NYS tracking system is now operational and contains a comprehensive data of 107,350 youths who have undergone the NYS program since 2014, and another 49,511 continuing servicemen and women at different stages of the program. Today, I once again reiterate my directive to the National Police Service and all other discipline services to redouble their efforts towards the absorption of the NYS cohorts into their ranks.
Now, Kenya continues to improve capacity when it comes to addressing the COVID-19 virus that continues to cause havoc across the globe. The Health Ministry received 2.3 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine from the German government. COVID-19 Task Force Chairperson Willis Ahwale says we now have close to 17 million doses, of which 9 million are yet to be administered. Ahwale said, going into the festive season, it's important that every Kenyan gets vaccinated against the virus, especially with fears of the new Omicron variant.
We continue to face many challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic, the most recent being the emergence of a new variant, Omicron, which has been shown to be more transmissible than even the Delta variant. The measure of transmissibility being that out of 10 people who are infected, they can infect another 19 people. And therefore, with the risk of more infection, it is therefore very important that we get that personal protection through vaccination.
He says that they've made strides in achieving the 100% vaccination target among frontline workers and vulnerable groups. This, as Standard Group and Newswire continues to ask you to get out there, get vaccinated and protect yourself and your loved ones. Now, Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi has welcomed the move taken by the Electoral Agency to pull out of a multi-agency committee formed to plan next year's general election. Speaking at the party headquarters in Nairobi, Mudavadi said the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission should be left to operate as an independent institution devoid of any interference from other government bodies. Last week, the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati withdrew from the multi-agency committee put in place to prepare for the election, saying the law only sets the burden of election preparation on the commission. The National Environment Complaints Committee has raised a red flag over the future of Lake Olbolosat, which is located in Nyandarua County. This is the only lake in the central Kenya region. The lake continues to face degradation due to massive encroachment of its riparian section. This is Newswire Dennis Aseto.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
All right, traffic quite some on Mombasa Road this morning, and the rain is pelting down. So this means that traffic will probably heighten as we go along. All right, getting off North Airport Road, heading out towards Outer Ring and then the Eastern Bypass. Eastern Bypass not looking too bad until you get right around that AP Training College area, and then there we see some traffic has built up. Donholm at the interchange, also then going out further east and then going up north into the city. We still have quite some traffic there that has built up. All right, the Thika Superhighway also continues, as does Kiambu Road. We're looking at Langata Road with quite some traffic as well. Coming out of Westlands continues to be a thing. Not to forget, you can use the Red Hill Link Road to get out of that. Okay, so normal morning, but it's raining. So one, be careful. Number two, use the bypasses. They'll help you out this morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text for 0127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 8 minutes after 8. Good morning, and how are you doing? Happy Friday, 3rd day of December 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation. This is our third hour, and now we are live for the next 1 hour on KTN Home. In addition to being live on Spice FM around the country and live streaming the show to the world on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Our guest is in the studio, but before we introduce him, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Asiyejua kucheza husema wacha nivae nguo.
Asiyejua kucheza
husema
yes. Wacha kwanza nivae nguo.
Wacha nivae nguo, wacha nijipange, wacha nijitayarishe kwanza. Yes.
Nyinyi ndeni.
Yes.
Nakuja.
Wajua, ikiwa and dancini, so to put it, let's see, lazima ujipambe. Yes. So
in English then?
Give me an opportunity to kujipamba. It means the one who does not know how to dance says, let me dress first.
Excuse.
Yes,
as an
it is.
excuse, or what else would they be saying that?
Because, you see, it isn't that they don't know how to dance. What people refer to as not knowing how to dance is not knowing a certain dance style or a dance move. Everyone knows how to dance. They may not necessarily dance in the way that you consider to be appropriate or in tune with whatever music, but they know how to dance. So if there's some music being played and I know I'm unfamiliar with a dance step, I will take the view that I honestly
you don't know how to
cannot
dance.
As I gave you the examples earlier on, take, for instance, if you're playing what we call rumba, or you're playing cha-cha-cha, or you're playing salsa, and then equate it with rock, equate it with rave. All those people are dancing, but they're dancing very differently.
Yeah, if you don't know cha-cha-cha, you don't know cha-cha-cha. We can't say that not everybody can dance.
Everybody can dance. Not everybody knows.
Reminds me of that movie, Happy Feet. Every penguin has a song. This one little penguin that just did not have a song. Our guest is the Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya, who's also the Chairman of the Judiciary Committee on Elections. Karibu sana, Judge.
Asante.
Good to have you on the Situation Room. And good to be in the presence of a judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya who is a friend of C.T. Muga.
Yes.
I had to throw in that.
Oh, yes, you had to, didn't you?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you know this man?
Well,
I tell them. But summary.
Did he come before court?
No. we want to know everything.
No, he's never appeared before me.
Okay.
And he's never been a client of mine while I was practicing. But we have a lot of common interest, and in terms of governance, in terms of the matters touching on our country. And we became very good friends. We enjoy the same type of music, so we had a lot of social times together. Yes, and so we for a very long time.
Can he dance?
Judge, that's enough. Don't tell these guys anything more.
Can he dance?
He can dance. I can confirm.
You
he
can
can
confirm,
dance.
right?
I've seen him.
Okay.
Yes,
Judge, welcome.
Thank you very much.
This Judiciary Committee on Elections, what is it?
Okay. It has a history, the Judiciary Committee on Elections. After the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, the Supreme Court was established. And one of the mandates of the Supreme Court is the hearing of any presidential election petitions or disputes, resolution of those disputes. And in his wisdom and foresight, the first Chief Justice, Honorable Willie Mutunga, came up with the idea of having a committee, which was ad hoc initially. This is as way back as May 2012. It's called the Judiciary Working Committee on Elections Preparations, and it was done ad hoc. It was interim. In fact, I was the first chair of that body, and the intention was that such body, the mandate was for the preparation of the judiciary, their preparedness to handle election disputes in this new order. So it includes training. It includes training judicial staff, magistrates, judges. And the idea was to assist the court prepare in the management of and disposal of elected-related disputes.
It wasn't going to be the first time that the judiciary was dealing with electoral disputes. So what was going to be different this time?
Okay. It was because before the 2010 Constitution, things were quite different. The handling of election petitions or dispute resolution was very chaotic. In fact, it was due to that chaos, unpreparedness, and disorder in the judiciary, I would say, before that there was lack of that there was problems in the coming after the 2007 elections, whereby due to the dissatisfaction about the results and the way it had been handled, then we had violence and instability in our country. So the idea is that after the 2010 constitution, the idea is that we have to have a change.
To build confidence in the judiciary.
To build confidence.
Because previously in 2007,
yes,
there was that lack of confidence.
Yes, in fact,
can we go to a neutral habitat?
Absolutely. In fact, to that extent, after the results were announced and the court declared a specific winner, the loser at that time, the opposition party, said they have no confidence in the judiciary and they're not coming to court to us because they don't expect any justice.
Judge, was it necessary to have, as you see it, as you're looking now through that lens historically, was it necessary to have a conflict of that nature for then this committee or even the judiciary in its entirety to then realize that something needed to be done to either instill or increase the level of confidence that the public, politicians, governance then had in the judiciary? Did it take a conflict of that nature to happen for this end to be realized?
It didn't have to happen. It's very unfortunate because due to this violence resulting from this dissatisfaction and lack of confidence, there was people lost lives. There was damage to property, injuries, and permanent injuries, and many people died due to the violence that arose, post-election violence. So it's unfortunate we didn't have to go through that, but because of the situation, it happened, and this catalyzed the need for reforms. Yes.
You know, when one looks at things from the perspective of history, so much is clear. So much is really, really clear. But what I've often asked myself is, what else could we have done? What else could the judiciary have done in the time prior to this to bolster the confidence that people had in their processes and in the institution?
I would say that, thank you very much for that. I would say that historically, Kenya, unfortunately, after independence, after the attempted coup in 1982, Kenya became, by legislation, by constitutional change, a one-party state. That removes democracy, and there was, let's face it, there was dictatorship of the one-party state. And of course, there was breach of human rights, denial of human rights. There was also corruption. Therefore, this country went through a lot of problems. That's why we had this crave and this movement for pluralism to come back, for multi-party democracy to come back. And many Kenyans were involved in this process, the agitation for that, including the churches, the Lost Sight of Kenya, and most Kenyans. Yes, so a change had to come, and unfortunately it came through this way. In other countries, it can even we have had serious civil wars involving the entire country. But fortunately, or despite the sad loss of over 1,000 Kenyans at that time, it could have been worse.
So what then, from where you see today, has been put in place to either then resolve potential future crises or at least adjudicate over them in such a manner that then would prove fair? What has been put in place now?
Okay. Kenyans demand or expect under the Constitution of Kenya free, fair, and credible elections, which and that is managed not by the judiciary. It's managed by other institutions, and particularly the IEBC. Our work comes before. The judiciary's work comes after the elections. Prior to the elections, we don't have much to do with elections. It's per se. But our elections, our problems come before the election. Our role comes in after the elections mainly. Of course, we have this issue of primaries, party lists and nominations within the parties, whereby IBC itself has a mechanism for EDR, and also we've got the Political Parties Tribunal, which deals with pre-election disputes regarding the the primaries. Yeah. Then, but the mainstream disputes that come after the elections in terms of the MCA, women, member of parliament, women rep, senator, governor, and ultimately the presidential election.
Right.
We've seen the number of petitions in the last elections, increasing. Well, we have very many elections anyway on the same day. I keep arguing that with all those seats being contested on the same day.
6 of them.
6 seats across the country. We counted. They're actually different elections. They are about 1,800.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Yes.
So there'll be disputes that come to the courts. Now, as the chair of the committee that is looking at how to prepare for this, what are you dealing with? What are you looking at? Is it increasing the number of judicial officers? Is it increasing the number of courts? Is it increasing the researchers that help the judicial officers? What exactly are you dealing with?
Thank you for those very important questions. Actually, we're dealing with all that. The first issue is the capacity, because we expect increase in election disputes, meaning cases coming to us across the board. Therefore, we must be prepared. We must have the sufficient numbers of judicial officers, judicial staff, research staff. Therefore, capacity building is very important for us. And then the issue of training. We have to train the magistrates, we have to train the judges themselves, we have to train the staff to be prepared in the management, case management, and disposal of these petitions. Therefore, we had hoped that maybe by this time there'd be no, rather the number of cases would go down. But the way we see what's happening on the ground today, I think it will be foolhardy to not to get prepared. There's likely to be an escalation of the number of disputes or other cases coming to us.
And there's a limit to how long a case should stay in court.
And under the law, yes.
Right.
It is under the new constitution. It is 6 months at the first stage, whether it is regarding MCS, the county assemblies members, women rep, members of parliament, governor, senator. The first stage must be disposed of within 6 months, and then if in case of any appeal, it must be disposed of within another 6 months. So a maximum period of 1 year, which is unique because prior to the 2010 constitution, disputes could take
4 years.
Yes.
A long time.
Beyond an election, beyond a cycle.
Yes.
You're going to a next election,
yes.
and the case has not been concluded.
Absolutely.
Justice, when you talk about preparedness, is it possible to walk us through what it is that the courts will do in readiness for what clearly is being anticipated?
Yes, readiness is it's not a single event, but it's a progressive. Because of Kenyans are extremely litigious, and you can see that we have got a very robust legal sector, the judiciary and the lawyers and the Kenyans. Kenyans know their rights. So every small violation or breach, they'll take it up, particularly when it comes to matters relating to elections. Therefore, the institution must be ready in terms of because we have in 2017 we have learned so much about the challenges that we face. So we believe that we have been succeeded. The judiciary has succeeded substantially in carrying out its mandate, and things are improving, and we hope to build on our successes up to now. So what we expect will happen is that there will be escalation of cases. That's what we believe, and therefore we must be prepared in all those aspects that you have mentioned.
Is one of those issues of preparation or being prepared dealing with corruption? When you have all these cases coming to court, we have seen previously that there have been allegations and accusations that no, there was some inducement in one petition or another. We've seen those complaints in the public. How are you prepared to deal with such?
Actually, that is interesting. That perception, the Judiciary Working Committee is not involved with interfering with the independence of any magistrate, any judge during the hearing of the case and the determination that each judicial officer, whether a magistrate or a judge, is independent. Nobody can interfere with them under the law. They're supposed to decide on the facts, on the merits, and using their own conclusions. Therefore, I cannot say that the committee will take action to let's say talk to any, if there are perceptions or complaints, to interfere with the judge's discretion. These matters are dealt with differently. We have got the Judicial Code of Conduct, whereby it sets out the duties and obligations of all the judicial officers, the judicial that's magistrates and judges. Therefore, if they breach it, of course, there are consequences. Number two, if there is allegations of bias or even corruption, there are ways to deal with it. If it's corruption, there is a corruption brings about criminal offences. So those criminal offences are dealt with in accordance with the law.
There's a different route. But Justice Ibrahim, look, we've just started by saying the importance of creating this committee that you had was to reinstall confidence in the public with the judiciary, so that the public can feel that if I take my petition to court, it is going to be addressed.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, among the things that we are seeing out of the last two electoral cycles is those, they are few and far between, but they are still there. Allegations of bribery or such from judicial officers. Now, clearly, that's something that will concern you as a committee, and you see, what can you do to reduce this kind of perception, to increase the confidence? What is it that you're doing?
It's true. I have to admit that there have been allegations of bribery and corruption, and some have even been investigated, and through the Judicial Service Commission, and through the other mechanisms. So far, I have not seen a case whereby a judicial officer actually has been culpable, and there's been enough material or evidence to have them prosecuted. So far, it has not happened. But if it's possible, is that what we do is we train the judges. We discuss the issues of corruption and bribery. The fact that it emanates many times from the parties themselves trying to interfere with the work of the judiciary or the members of staff or judges. So we discuss openly, as much as it's obvious, we discuss openly that we should try and avoid. We remind each other during our training. We remind each other about our judicial code of conduct. We remind each other about the importance of integrity in the judicial system. So that moral aspect, we discuss, we share. There's, in case of bias and perceptions, sometimes we even consult each other, but to see whether there's any credible material about these rumors that we're hearing. But ultimately, during our trainings, we try to inculcate those principles in our officers. But it's human to err, but we hope that as we proceed, that these challenges, are erased or reduced totally.
Allow us to take a break and then we come back and continue the conversation. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on KTN Home and online. Our guest this morning is the Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya. He's also the chair of the Judiciary Committee on Elections. He's telling us about election preparedness, electoral dispute resolution preparedness by the judiciary. Talking about, restoring confidence in the judiciary, having the confidence in the judiciary for all parties to go and take their disputes to court and not deal with it any other way. Let's continue this conversation after this quick break. It's 8:30.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December for Tis the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas directed by Atemi Oyungu with music by Eric Wenaina and produced by Sheba Hast. Get your tickets now on Ticket Sasa. Come one, come all, and let's make merry and have a jolly good time. All guidelines set by the Ministry of Health shall be followed.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Famous, the secrets we keep, live La Liga action. Of our Showmax Black Friday special.
The rain is coming down at 17 in Nairobi, highs of 21 and lows of 15. Partly sunny conditions at 16 in Nakuru City, highs of 23 and lows of 12. 13 will be the low in a cloudy Nyeri at 17 with highs of 22. Eldoret mostly cloudy at 19, highs of 24 and lows of 13. We're looking at rain in Mombasa as well at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 25. While in Malindi, it's sunny at 28 with highs of 31. It'll come down to lows of 26. Kisumu is sunny at 23. We'll see highs of 29 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega, sunny at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 16. Out in Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam continues to rain this morning at 26. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24. Johannesburg is sunny, getting warmer and warmer, going to highs of 27 and lows of 17. Lagos clear at 25, highs of 34 today, and it's raining in Kinshasa now at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
continues on Mombasa Road and the rain is pelting down, so that means things slow down considerably. North Airport Road, then going out towards the Eastern Bypass. We'll see some traffic continuing there. So this whole Mombasa Road area coming in from Sabaki through and through, out past the SGR and then towards General Motors, that slows down some. Not to forget that industrial area, that Imaradaima area continues for some time with the construction that's going on there. So just plan, if you're heading in that direction, know that it's going to slow down some. Outer Ring, the exchange at Donholm slows down, and that means that traffic on Jogo Road increases going out then towards Landis and the Kamkunji roundabout. Ngong Road today, folks, is a thing. I don't know what birthed this one, but it's not a dream. It looks like a nightmare. It's very, very slow this morning, as is Langata Road. Raila Odinga Way, second time in one day, doing not so badly until you get to the junction going towards Ngumo. Apart from that, everything else is doing its normal traffic thing in the morning. We'll keep an eye on things for you. Let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
And let's talk about Showmax. Okay, so there are several packages that you can choose for Showmax. One of them is just 300 bob a month. And if you subscribe to Showmax, any of the packages this month, you get an extra 1 month free. And CT was saying yesterday, you subscribe in December and January is free. January, the whole 60 days of January.
The only thing that's normally free in January.
No, January is one very long month.
Yes. So this will be a very good deal.
It's like it's compensating for December, which is like half a month.
Yes. So Showmax, just that ordinary package is 300 shillings a month. And then there's Showmax Pro, which is 1,050 a month. So what do you get in Showmax Pro? You get a lot of content. You get, content including a live stream, series, movies, kids shows, live sport from Supersport, news and more. And the other one, you get series, movies, Showmax originals and kids shows. Showmax.com. Go there and find out more.
SpiceFM Nyeri.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
24 minutes to 9.
Mornings
Conversation continues
done
with
right.
the Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya and Chair of the Judiciary Committee on Elections, being hosted by Eric Latiff, Okoh and CT Muga.
Justice, the committee, its title, wonderful, sounds good to the ear. What is it? Give us the details.
Well, the committee is a very important component now of the judiciary, particularly during every election cycle. If you look at the mandate of the JSC, and I would like to just give an outline, it will clearly show you the intention and the sincere intention and the purpose of this. And for instance, one of the objectives is to advise the judiciary on the administrative arrangements and measures for the efficient disposal of election-related disputes. There are 7 or 8 mandates, but just to pick 1 or 2, the other one is to liaise with and cooperate with other stakeholders to ensure efficient, effective, and timely resolution of election-related disputes and offences. To advise the judiciary on the information that needs to be developed and disseminated to the public. The public must know through the avenues open to it to pursue electoral disputes and approaches that will be employed. So knowledge, information to the public is very important.
I want to look back at the timelines that have been set by the law. Like you told us, in the other petitions from MCA coming to governor, woman rep, MP, senator, it has to be concluded if in the lower court 6 months, in appeal 6 months, done. The presidential one, we know, but just let's hear it from the horse's mouth. How many days?
14 days.
In 14 days.
In 14 days.
Now, do you feel that these times, even from the 6 months to the 14 days, are they sufficient?
Absolutely not. And speaking for myself and most of the members of the judiciary and other stakeholders who know the challenges and difficulties of hearing such an important electoral dispute of the level of presidential elections, which is a very sensitive and highly intensely disputed. 14 days is really, it is impossible to function. It is inhumanly impossible almost that you can commence here, determine, and make a determination with those 14 days in a way that is
satisfactory
to all parties. We have tried our best, and I think within the circumstances we have succeeded. But we have had challenges, and the Kenyans know. For instance, even the 2013 election result, whereby we had to reserve our reasons. We just we gave our judgment, but we had to reserve our reasons because it was not possible, and for us to finish everything within that time. And so
what will be?
We have been trying to seek extension of this time to at least 45 days or 30. We have made appeals to stakeholders, to Parliament, to Senate.
What feedback do you get?
Nobody has heard us.
What feedback do you get? What is the reason? What do they tell you? Those key stakeholders, when you tell them extend the 14 days to say 30 days. Some of them, I'm sure you know, are part of the people who participated in drafting the Constitution, and they know why they fixed it to 14 days. One of them is actually a member of the Supreme Court.
Yes. In fact, when we talk to the members of Parliament, and which we have, and I remember in the course after the 2013 elections, and as we discussed and continued, in between, the members of Parliament are very sympathetic, and they actually agree with us. But the matter, and even we present the suggestions to the law reform and to the AG, but we have never really been told why they are not allowing this time to be extended.
Why? It's the law. From how you see it, we're dealing specifically with the presidential. Why do you think that it was given such a short time period? Maybe that would help to see the reasons as to why it's not changed.
Absolutely. It has a historical reason. In Kenya, after every election period, when the results are announced, before the law was changed, when a presidential petition was filed, the incumbent will stay in office until that dispute is resolved. And that dispute could take those days years to determine. For instance, the case of Moi Kibaki versus Moi in 1997. It took years for it to be resolved. And by the time it was resolved on a technicality that the petition had not been served physically on the president.
And this was years after.
Yes, and you see, how can you serve a president? But nowadays we can serve through electronically, through the media. So things have changed. So the idea was this. There was a feeling after the 2007 elections that you don't trust an incumbent who has, quote unquote, or any side who are quote unquote, according to the other party, has won the elections unfairly, irregularly, through other machinations. So you don't trust the incumbent in between that time and the determination of the dispute, that they could do something to interfere with the judges or other institutions. So they said now, the idea that Kenya said, we demand, as soon as the results are announced, the matter is heard 14 days, and we have a determination, and we know who is our president. So that there is no time for anybody to do shenanigans.
Right.
Yes.
So then, based on that, if you think about it from a legal point of view, taking all those things into consideration, does it have the rationale as to why it's kept at that short period? Even if you deal with all this information, you deal with both parties arguing, but you see the reasons as to why that short period was set, does it make some kind of sense?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think Kenyans should accept that it is. It's not actually. We need a fair trial means the matter being heard in a fair manner. A fair manner means there must be proper research. Lawyers have time to collect the data material. If results are announced today, and then you are given 7 days to file your petition, and when you are filing the petition, you must have the evidence, the material, the witnesses. How can a lawyer marshal that time within that time? Is there enough time, really, to do that and have an effective and reasonable petition presented and argued? And equally, once the matter is heard by the judges, how long do they have time to do very serious research? And that's why we had problems after the 2013 elections, when one party applied within the proceedings to have almost 900 pages. Is it pages or paragraphs of additional evidence to be put in a further affidavit? And when it was declined because there was no time. Of course, you remember how it was. It was how
it was presented.
And how we were challenged and how we were criticized for that.
Yes. That you have received. You've refused to take evidence, which was crucial, which could have changed this.
And supposing we have 45 days, they would have had the opportunity.
So this calls then on not just the political players, but everybody in the country raising their level of maturity. Because you see, even within those 14 days, there is palpable tension.
Yes.
As this petition is going on in the Supreme Court, everybody is watching, and there's all this tension. Is this going to be nullified or is it not? What's going to happen? There's a lot of pressure then on the judges themselves, on everybody to perform.
Absolutely.
Because the entire country is looking and wondering what's going to happen. If we increase this to 30 days, it can only start by the people themselves calming down and saying, okay, it's gone to court, let's wait. The same way we see MCA go to court, we wait 6 months, we shall hear it. In fact, some people even forget that there was a petition.
Yes. That's very, very true. I totally agree with you.
You know, one of the problems I think the judiciary have is that they're considered to be an arm of government. So any mistrust or distrust that people have of the government for the longest time is simply the judiciary just gets their portion of it.
The executive?
Yes, yes. The figure, and again, with the historical reference, there's justification as to why they think that way. Because for the longest time, the judiciary was just an arm of the executive. Just like we now say that Parliament is an arm of the executive.
In fact, at one time, when we used to have those big directories for telephone directories, when you check in the opening pages where the government telephone lines are set out, you find that judiciary falls under the Attorney General's office.
Under AG, you find the judiciary.
Yes. So at some point you could even argue that it's unfair. But what I think the judiciary grapples with is just the high expectations and the latent history that accompanies it. Because if someone feels that what they are seeking, the justice they are seeking, will not be achieved through fair means, it's very, very difficult to allay those fears. But let me ask the question I want to ask. One of the things that the judiciary keeps being accused of, especially in the recent past, are issues of corruption, essentially malpractice. Now, beyond the Judicial Service Commission, are there informal mechanisms where judges, justices, people in that space sit down and talk together and say, Nani, we hear that this is happening. We need to sort it out. Let me tell you why I asked this question. I was not pleasantly surprised. I was delighted when I first read about how it is that certain courts within the country are actually judged based on their performance. Meaning you're told the perimeter that we're looking at is A, B, C, D. Meru did a splendid job of doing A, B, C, D. So and so now. In that same manner, does the judiciary have a mechanism for keeping their house in order without necessarily going to the Judicial Service Commission?
First of all, within the judiciary, that's a very unique question and very important, I would say. Within the judiciary, we are human beings, and we have got what we call, if I say in a broader sense, we have got collegiality within the judiciary.
Yes.
We have got what we call peer review. That actually we encourage it, is part of our system, that we can have peer review, that we ought to talk to each other when we hear of a certain situation. We can approach each other and ask each other questions, and even we can do, what do you call it, counsel each other. And an office like the Chief Justice, and even among judges, peer review is very important. Even before a matter escalates out, or even if there are perceptions that a particular court is not functioning, or there's a problem with a particular officer, that issue of finding out within and dealing with it without necessarily taking it to the Judicial Service Commission, that is very important. But many times these complaints come from outside, from parties or members of the public. And that one has got to go usually to the Judicial Service Commission, because they have the mandate to investigate violations or breaches by the judicial officers and judges, up to the serious matters of corruption.
Justice, even as you talk about this, in just a few days ago, the President gave a State of a Nation address when he did not shy away from talking about the facts, or according to him, his belief that justice had been denied to the people of Kenya by the judiciary. It's not the first time that he has said this. He said this a couple of times. So it gives you an idea of what the executive has in mind on certain aspects of how things are adjudicated. How does that perception affect the work that a committee like this would do with something as sensitive as election disputes?
Yes, yes, I'm aware of those statements. I hope, I wish it was possible to discuss and resolve those matters without the public accusations. But we do accept that there's been a problem, some sort of problem between the judiciary and the executive on various matters, including the issue of compliance with court orders, the issue of that injunctions have been given. The executive has been very unhappy with the injunctions given by the courts, sometimes in very huge matters involving public funds, with the holding of public funds, delay in projects to be executed because of injunctions, particularly ex parte injunctions. So we do know, and we want to engage with the executive to understand the nature of our job. And if there's corruption, actual corruption, or even perception, there are mechanisms to deal with them. And it is within the law. The Parliament has made the law, and the law is there. So we hope that we can resolve this matter amicably and by enforcing the law. It's possible.
As you say that then, Judge, looking at, as you prepare for election petitions, with a history of, court orders and decisions of the court not being adhered to or being obeyed, what would you do? Should a court, any of the courts, declare make a certain ruling on a certain election petition, but then it affects the judiciary, and the judiciary, not the judiciary, but the executive, and the party basically just decides, forget about it, we are not going to go by this order? Are you prepared for such eventualities?
We are prepared for it. And it has happened in certain cases. I don't want to mention any case because some of them are actually sub judice at the moment, meaning the actual live matters involving the ex parte, rather what we call non-implementation or enforcement of court orders, or rather the fact that there is perception that the executive does not obey the court orders. Obeying is not an issue of being subjugated or being submissive. It is about the rule of law. Compliance with court of orders is not a matter of a fight. It is the application of the rule of law. It is underpinned under our Constitution of 2010, which is now the instrument that holds the center of this country. So we need to discuss this, and Kenyans to know the importance of respecting court orders, because if we don't, it will amount to anarchy. It is the issue of contempt of court must be discussed, but is an instrument embedded in the law, and in other jurisdictions it has been enforced, and rule of law has been sustained. So, but
from your experience, because now you're an experienced judicial officer, and you're an experienced lawyer, should the judiciary be given an extra tool to make sure that there is compliance with court orders?
For me, it's a culture. It is a culture which we must inculcate in Kenya. Compulsion or force or even imprisonment is not a solution. It's not a solution at all. For the public to have trust in the courts, in the judicial system, the compliance must be done. If and there is the laws are very clear, if there is you don't agree with a judgment or an order, please appeal against it, or apply to set it aside. But you cannot evade it. It's not possible. Yes.
Let's take a break and say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home, and then we'll come back and say goodbye to our guest, the Honorable Justice Mohammed Ibrahim. We've been live on KTN Home since the top of the hour. The conversation continues on SpiceFM, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi, various frequencies. And we're also live streaming the show. You can go to YouTube and search for SpiceFM KE, or Facebook, just search SpiceFM KE, the same thing on Twitter, and you will find a video stream of this show. Good morning.
There are other jurisdictions, or let me say, there are other countries where the very thing that we're discussing here, whether it is with the Treasury or the Ministry of Finance or with the Judiciary, they actually have enforcement officers, meaning police officers who are actually attached to that particular arm of government. Meaning, so if there's a situation where an order has been given, they are the ones who will actually ensure that that particular order is enforced. If we had such a situation, I mean, now, wishful thinking on my part, of course, would it help in the administration of justice?
It's a very complex question, I would say, because our system is different. In our system, to start looking at our system is that the administration of police is under the Inspector General, under one force now, and the office, the police force, the DCI, and all other police formations are under the AG. Sorry, IG. Yeah. So in Kenya, for the first time in Kenya, and we must laud our Chief Justice for having facilitated and made sure that we have now a judiciary police unit with a full assistant commissioner based within the judiciary for the security of official, for judges, magistrates, and staff and installation property. But regarding the issue of enforcement of court orders, we cannot have different centers of power. The issue of police and enforcing orders, the issue of security must remain within the auspices of the IG. We cannot have our own police, independent police, where we go and enforce our orders. It doesn't look
anarchy.
It doesn't look neat. Yeah.
Judge, we want to thank you very much for joining us. We want to give you just 1 minute, pass a message to Kenyans as they are looking into the judiciary and they're looking into 2022. Build their confidence.
Thank you very much, Latiff. And I thank for the time I've been given by all members of the team in the Situation Room, and my old friend Muga. Is a very interesting situation, and I'm very happy to be in this situation with him. He's always challenged me intellectually. Now, to answer your question, or rather to say what you're, for me to do what you have asked me to do, I will say, fellow Kenyans, this is our country. We love it, and we have to protect our country. And one of the ways is to obey the law. One of the ways is to respect order, respect the government of the day, and if we work together, we have a beautiful country and we can succeed. Regarding the rule of law, the judiciary is keen on the administration of justice, the hearing of cases in a fair and manner. Regarding to elections, we would like to ensure that we have free, fair, and effective and credible elections. But of course, the mandate of carrying out the elections, managing the elections, is in the hands of other institutions, and particularly IBC. Let us cooperate with IBC. Let us cooperate with all other institutions so that we go towards a very peaceful and carry out a very peaceful elections in 2022.
Asante.
This is our country.
Asante sana. Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Judge of the Supreme Court of Kenya and Chair of the Judiciary Committee on Elections. Lovely day. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Rescue operations are underway in Siaya County after 8 people were buried alive in a mine in a Bimbo village in Siaya County. Yesterday, 2 people were rescued, with the rescue operation extending into the night but did not bear any fruit. Bondo Police Commander Roslyn Cheboso has advised residents to be vigilant, especially now that heavy rains continue to pound several parts of the county. 2 people have been admitted to Thika Level 5 hospital after being shot and wounded by unknown individuals. The 2 were shot outside Gatundu court by suspects on a motorcycle. They had appeared in court to attend a case on crime. An investigation into the matter has been launched. Government spokesperson Colonel Cyrus Oguna has asked the youth in the country to stay away from politicians who may seek to recruit them to cause chaos as 2022 elections campaigns gain momentum. Oguna noted that Kenyan youth form 75% of the population with minimal living standards and are likely to be compromised by wealthy individuals to influence or cause mayhem during elections. While addressing youth in Mombasa, Oguna said it was regrettable that many of the post-election chaos are caused by uncaring politicians who use desperate youth as pawns to achieve their own selfish gains. Coastal Regional Coordinator John Elungata has warned pastoralists in Lamu County against taking their livestock to farms. Speaking at a meeting with residents of Witu, Kakate, Katakakairu and Pandanguo villages who are affected by the ongoing drought, Elungata also called on the government institutions to speed up and provide animal feed. Lamu West MP Stanley Muthama has called on the government to prioritize the residents of the area in a plan to fund people suffering from hunger across the country, saying they are the worst affected. Other counties heavily affected by drought include Tana River, Samburu, Turkana and Isiolo. The Shanzu Law Court in Mombasa County has ordered 4 suspected drug traffickers and money laundering suspects detained for 7 more days. Swaleh Ahmed, Asma Abdallah, Suleiman Salim and Susan Mutuku will continue to be detained at Shimolatawa prison as they wait for the ruling on their bail application. Justice Yusuf Shikanda said the 7-day period was up to the court to decide whether to release them on bail or not. 275 million shillings worth of drugs were seized in Nairobi and Kilifi County. The government has already filed a lawsuit claiming that Ahmed and Mutuku have been involved in money laundering. The new 40 billion shillings Kipevu Oil Terminal 2 is due for completion later this month, according to the Kenya Pipeline Company. The terminal, designed to receive super petrol, diesel, jet fuel, LPG and crude oil at a go, aims at enhancing the port of Mombasa's capacity to handle and store fuel product. Kenya Pipeline Company Operations Manager Martin Wanyama has said the old Kipevu Oil Terminal has had challenges in that it could only handle one vessel at a time. Operationalization of the new oil terminal is designed to accommodate and handle 4 vessels at a go, meaning instead of taking 3 to 4 days of loading fuel, each of the 4 vessels will take 5 hours to offload fuel, a total capacity of 20 vessels a day. A Libyan court has reinstated Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of slain dictator Muammar Gaddafi, as a candidate in next month's presidential election, the latest twist in an increasingly shaky transition. Saif al-Islam had emerged in July after years in the shadows, saying that he was planning a political comeback to restore the lost unity of Libya a decade after it was plunged into chaos by the 2011 NATO-backed revolt that overthrew and killed his father. He had been the first heavyweight candidate to register for the election, part of a UN-brokered process aimed at bringing peace to the North African nation. And the US Congress approved a stopgap funding bill in a rare show of cross-party unity to keep federal agencies running into 2022 and avert a costly holiday season government shutdown. With the clock ticking down to the 11:59 p.m. Friday deadline, the Senate voted by 69 to 28 to keep the lights on until February 18th, with a resolution that had already advanced from the House. The continuing resolution avoids millions of public workers being sent home unpaid, with Christmas approaching as parks, museums and other federal properties and services closed. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so we're still looking at traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, and we're going out into the city with quite a lot of it, all the way from the Weybridge out then towards SGR and further ahead. Aerodrome Road today, yes, feeding off Langata Road going towards the Uhuru Highway, that's absolutely packed. Rilo Dinga Way through Times a Charm. Also quite some traffic coming off Langata Road and then joining with that and also connecting with Gong Road. We're right in the middle of traffic hour. This is going to take us way past 10, it seems. We're going to keep an eye on things, that's for sure. The Thika Superhighway, thick and heavy traffic into the city, as is coming off Kiambu Road. All right, so let's see what it holds in a few minutes or so. But for now, this is the state of the traffic situation. Quite a lot of it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
Kenya's biggest
Room,
conversation. It continues 7 minutes after 9. This is Friday. It's the 3rd day of December 2021. Let's get today's proverb from C.T. Muga.
Asiyejua kucheza husema wacha nivae nguo.
Asiyejua kucheza
Yes.
husema wacha nivae nguo.
Yes, this person who has difficulties, problems dancing will say, let me get dressed first before we can actually get into this issue of dancing.
Yes. A small matter of let's dance here, let's do there.
Yes.
Okay. So, there's a story that I want to bring to your attention, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, the president was at NYS Training College in Gilgil, where he was presiding over the pass-out parade of 7,269 recruits.
How many?
7,269 269 recruits, new NYS recruits, okay? Makurutu. During that passing out parade, he made an order and he said the Kenya Defence Forces should double the number of graduates it absorbs from the National Youth Service. Previously, the military was taking 500 NYS graduates into the military, absorbing them in the military. Now the president is saying 1,000 young men and women from the NYS in the next military recruitment exercise, you should set aside 1,000 slots and just pick people from NYS. This brings back that conversation of what used to happen before and the importance of NYS. So we've seen a number of, since in the Uhuru administration, NYS was revamped. Yes, it came with so many scandals, but NYS was revamped. NYS has recruited very many youth, and we've seen NYS in very many places. When there's an issue, airport security as you get in, NYS. Yes. Airport parking, NYS.
Even government
parastatals, offices, NYS officers helping. When KEMSA board decided to send everybody home, the first people that they called up was NYS. And they're not only trained to carry shovels and march. They have various disciplines. They have engineering in there.
They do.
They've got others in there. So all those disciplines are actually
it's like a proper
NYS.
training institute.
It's a proper training college.
Yes.
Right? It's basically a TVET.
It is a TVET.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was a time when it was mandatory for you to go through NYS before you go to university.
Yes.
What was the importance of that then, CT?
The understanding was precisely that you wanted young people who, A, had instilled in them a certain sense of discipline. Okay? You need to consider the background. You see, the background to this was a tumultuous university, which at that particular time acted as the opposition party in this country, or part of it in many ways. Because university students were a very loud voice. And given that University of Nairobi was the only university that we had in the country for the longest time, and they are bang in the middle of the city. When they made noise, the whole country had no choice but to be affected and to hear. So the idea was, why don't we get them to do something different so that by the time they get to college, they have an idea of just beyond going to study, they have discipline and hopefully instill a certain sense of national unity in them.
Yes.
That was the thinking.
That was the thinking.
That was the thinking.
Did it work?
It worked until there was a demonstration by the students and they formed themselves into military formations. Previously, it was helter-skelter. The riot police, as we call them, would arrive and the students would be standing waiting for them to pelt them with stones. Where those stones come from, I've never figured out. But anyway, and it would be a running battle. This time around, they arrived and the students were in formation. Okay? Students, shut! Everyone, zap!
Who's the leader of this battalion?
They have a leader.
They have their own, okay.
They had all been trained.
Yes.
That Gilgil training, anybody who went for that training came back when they had lost all the weight that they had ever acquired in their lives.
They all knew how to
They knew how to march, they knew how to salute, they knew everything.
And to take orders and to follow orders.
Followed and to move forward, they move forward as a formation.
Bas.
It was observed. That was the end of NYS. After that incident, NYS, end of story. It's like, you mean to tell me we're paying so that we can actually... No. This is what is the outcome. I think they overreacted. Because if I look at countries where they have a national youth service, whether it's in the form of Peace Corps or it's in the form of just public service and attachment to public, it is actually a good thing. So that somebody who is hoping to train so that they can get into work later on has a public sense of good.
Right.
It's important.
It's important.
It's very important.
So how about then? Now, let's not just say before you go to university, you must go through NYS. How about we say that after Form 4, you will do NYS?
That would make so much sense. Meaning, can you think of the labor force that you would have if you said, okay, this story of we don't know what you're going to do with the youth, everybody goes to NYS, but we now ensure that we focus you to counties. You can mix it up and do something else later.
Yeah.
But everyone knows you finish Form 4. National Youth.
There's National Youth Service. So you're getting some basic training.
Yes,
Number
you
one,
are.
you're getting basic training on patriotism and all,
Yes.
and public service. Number two, you're getting training on discipline. And number three, you're getting a skill.
Yes, you are.
Because you get a skill. It's basically
You do
you
get
go
a skill.
through some preliminary TVET before then you branch off into
To whatever it is you want to do.
Whatever it is you want to do. Whether you're going to university or you're going to TVET.
That's interesting. I look at other countries, and Nigeria as one of them, is that so now when you have the National Youth Service Corps, is that then after your university or your diploma certificate studies, in order for you to start working in formal employment in the country, you must have served your 9 months to 1 year of youth service. And what it did is exactly what you're saying. It takes you from your would-be quote-unquote comfort zone and takes you to another part of the country so that you can kill two birds with one stone. You get to know what another part of the country looks like and who these people are. So somebody who went to school in the south then goes to Maiduguri, for example, to the northeast or northwest, right? Or the central parts of the country. So you get to know the people, you get to know the way of life, you get to know that there's a different part of the country that exists.
Yeah.
Fantastic. At the same time, you are posted to an area that allows you to practice what you've studied. You studied education, you will teach in a local school, for example. You studied computer science, you will assist the state government of X place to set up or to work on their technological development, things like that.
Right.
And you do this for 9 months. Akin to the military, because they are insistent on order and strictness, etc., etc. But at the same time, you're doing so many other things. Now, I think it's a good thing where you have it where people are still supple.
At what point?
After high school.
After high school?
Yes, where people are still supple. Because what has happened is that after the university years, people then start to manipulate the system and say, you know what, thank you very much, but I grew up and I'm born and bred in Abuja. You're not going to take me to some Janlango somewhere to sit for 9 months where I don't even have access to running water kind of thing.
But there's also the other side that you've introduced, which has actually just moved my thinking from that period of after high school, before college, into after college, with the experience of Nigeria. Remember what Jubilee had promised to do in 2017, that every student who graduates from college will get how many months of internship paid by government?
Yes, at 10,000 shillings per month.
At 10,000 shillings per month. Now, can you imagine if we actually say that everybody who graduates from whatever college...
Oh, by the way, and Nigeria pays, the government pays you.
Government pays, right?
Yes, for
so
for
everybody
that 9
who
months,
now has acquired a skill, you go into some NYS level, maybe you're NYS cadets, okay? And then you're posted to go and work somewhere. So you're killing several birds with one stone. One, you're getting the job experience. Two, you are getting into public service. You're getting into all those things that we're talking about, going to other parts of the country, understand your country, understand how government works and everything. So you're saying basically after you graduate college, you are going to serve in government for 6 months, a year. And then as you look for whoever else is going to employ you, but you have to have that mandatory service.
It's compulsory because right now, private or public, public government will not hire you without an NYSC certificate. They won't give you a job. They'll ask you, where's your NYSC? Whether you cooked it or not is up to you. But so you understand now that it's compulsory because they want to see the certificate that you actually served your country in this capacity in whatever area that you did. Right?
You know, there are countries, though, who have that same system, but it's compulsory military service.
Israel, for example.
Yes.
Man, woman, child, everybody has been through the military service.
So whether you stay there or
when do they go? Is it after college or after high school?
It's after high school in Israel. Yeah.
You do not go. You get to university when you're well in your 20s. Because it isn't a few months, it's years. So by the time you're going to university, you've already undergone that particular training. And I thought about it, having been to Israel and having talked to somebody who went through that process. Actually, you realize that the outlook that this individual has towards life is very different. You go to university when you've matured. You're not just some kid who's finished high school. You've seen stuff, you've been through stuff, and NYS also will do the same thing for you.
It exposes you to that.
Yes.
To some sense of maturity.
And some sense of responsibility. Yes, it does. You cannot say it doesn't. It does.
So where would you're supporting this? So at what stage? High school?
No.
Post high school, post college.
It is after high school.
After high school.
Yes.
Same thing for you, Undu.
Yeah.
It's important. It's an important age because all these decisions that people make and the formulation, what post secondary school education does for you, it helps you mature. But remember, if you started off that particular journey having been established in something that takes you out of, as you put it, your comfort zone into public service, because that is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing things that ordinarily you wouldn't do. You do it for a year or a bit. My friend, you know in those days why it was possible? There were 8 months from the time you finished A-levels to the time you actually went to university.
Yeah.
So during that period,
Yes.
now, it is a very long time. And the truth of the matter is, by the time, my friend, you actually get into the whatever institution, post secondary school institution you're going to go to, you will not be some young person who has some flimsy ideas of life. You'll have had a fairly clear idea of what life entails.
You know what life is all about.
You'll have a very clear idea. You'll be your thinking, your approach toward life will be different.
And also, I see the importance of having this mandatory NYS as among the things, that discipline aspect. Because we are talking about national values and all, and we are wondering, so how do we start fixing this issue of values?
Yes.
If you go through this one institution that is basically instilling those values in you, then we are saying that we're getting people into college, into the workspace, who have some sense of value and ethics. We've been asking ourselves, how do we sort out the value and ethos of the country? As we talk about starting it from kindergarten as the kids are growing, but then you come into one area where it's about service.
You know, Eric, what is of interest? In a previous time, from independence and on to the period of the first President Jomo Kenyatta to the President Daniel Arap Moi, one of the things that happened when you're in public service, irrespective of whatever cadre, because public service you could get into after Form 4, after Form 6, after college, whatever. They very rarely posted you to the area you came from. It didn't happen. And it didn't just happen then. Even when it came to A-levels, the likelihood of you going to A-levels in the place where, man, you'd be taken, you'd probably be looking for a map. I know because one experienced it. One of the things that we did, in those days, Eric, what happened was you actually got a letter of employment even before you finish your last exam. And the first thing you did when you got your letter was to go to the library to look at the map.
To know where is this?
Where this place has been posted to. First of all, where is it? And then, so you had time to find out details of where this place is so that you could go there. You talked about cohesion, a national outlook. People who worked in the service, in the national, for the national government, you couldn't help but have that idea because you are in the middle of Nyandarua. Your DO comes from Homa Bay.
Yes.
Your DC comes from Turkana. Okay? Your PC comes from the coast. Now, you tell me, other people who work within those offices are also a smattering of from all over the country.
All over.
Precisely. Now, you tell me, how do you think? Have you not been introduced to this diversity that the country already has?
You do, actually. You get that. And in fact, we see that even now with, let's say, the police service.
Yes.
Police, you will go to Mandera and find somebody who is not from Mandera at all. And they're telling you, I was posted here, I've been here for now 2 years, and I come from Kisii.
Yes.
Different environment, different culture, everything. But they get to experience the entire country. This story we were talking about earlier about this scuffle between the EACC and the police. The police officers who were involved in this, none of them is actually from this particular area, from Nyeri County, from Madeira. They are all officers. Just looking at their names, you can just see this is not somebody who's indigenous
to that place,
to this particular place.
Right.
The Teacher Service Commission had gotten to a point where they stopped this, and they were now reintroducing it. Remember, there was a whole pushback
There's
from
a serious
Wilson Sossion and the others. But the Teacher Service Commission is now bringing that back and saying, no, we are not going to post you in your location, in your own area.
It's clear what the merits, I mean, so many things that can be of benefit from a process like this, you know, that you have this huge population of young people who are ready at that time, you know, and could benefit. Because I think the perception always has been that NYS, you know, or a service like this is left for people who don't have an option.
Yep.
But it's actually
everything else fails.
Yeah, everything else fails, so you
NYS.
join NYS. Yeah. But if you look at it from a different lens, it's a beautiful thing that can actually be used by very many youth of the country to gain experience, get to know about Kenya, get to know what other things, and then you see this whole thing that we talk about, industrial attachment, that the government is often looking for. How do we get this done? There could be a beautiful consensus between government now as NYS and very many corporations around the country to place people and say, okay, go to this part of the country, work here, do this. It already exists. And we've seen very many examples when NYS has been used to get things done. I'll give the example of when the late President Moy had passed and everything was being refurbished. Who was being used?
NYS.
NYS. In days, we saw beautiful things happening to the letter in time. So you see the element of order already is there, and it can be used in a very great way.
It can be deployed in very nice way. Look
Absolutely.
at the Safari Rally. We hosted the Safari Rally last year.
Yeah.
Was it this year?
It was this year. It
was
seems
this
so
year?
long ago. It was this year.
This year.
It was this year?
Yes, it was this year.
Okay.
A lot
So
has
we-
happened.
Buena. We hosted the Safari Rally. NYS were used as marshals.
Yes.
There was order.
Yep.
Because they are receiving instructions and they know what to do. Go in there, they are in uniform, they know they're working, and that's all they're doing. Come back. Was there order? Was there no order?
There was order.
There was order.
There was order.
In national events, we're going to have Jamhuri Day in a few days.
National Youth.
You will see national youth being
Yeah,
deployed.
be used.
So they have a lot of use, and not only that, not as at marshals and guards and all. There are very many areas where you hear a bridge has collapsed. NYS will actually be deployed to go and do it because they have engineers there. They have masons. We need to put up a building. NYS at this facility being put up, Konza, Techno City. It's actually NYS officers who are on the ground.
But Eric, look at the two railways that have been revived. The Nairobi Nanyuki line.
NYS.
Kisumu. You see, it isn't a difficult case to make.
No, it really isn't. If you
But-
speak of low-hanging fruit, and
No,
things
it
that
isn't a
you do, it's
difficult
right
case.
there, yeah.
But if you look at the benefits, if everyone who finished the secondary school could be engaged, can you look at the benefit it would give? All these stories of young people hanging out, not having things to do, you know that story wouldn't be there. The question I would ask is, when you talk about what it is that is required to pay them, again, remember the discussion we had yesterday with regards to the State of the Nation address, and we were saying corruption wasn't addressed, wasn't talked about. Such things and dealing with that number of people and being able to afford to pay them, when you cut out that cancer, you have money to do such things.
Yes.
And that is now building this thing we call it the future. Because you are going to have a whole generation of people who look at life very differently simply because of the experiences that the government has enabled them to go through. Yes.
I want to bring back a debate that we once had here, which was NYS should be guaranteed X number of contracts from the government.
Yes.
Say you reserve 40, 50% of all government procurement to NYS when it comes to, especially to civil works. You're building a railway, NYS must be involved. You're building a road, NYS must be involved. You're building, putting up new buildings, government buildings, NYS must be involved. So they get the contract. They generate the money, number one. Number two, you are controlling the cost of all these projects. You're putting up a dam somewhere. NYS must be involved. So you already know this is how much it's going to cost us to do the job. Anyway, we control our costs and we give NYS the money to be able to pay this youth to be able to continue developing.
And Eric, you don't know just how very right you are. The initial estimate that was given for the Nairobi Nanyuki line in billions, just take a wild guess, a stab, what was first floated.
What was it? I remember the MD telling us here. Was it 30 billion?
Precisely.
It was 30 billion.
Yes, yes. 25 going to 30 billion. And I'm told the president asked, at what? I said, okay. Am I commander-in-chief or am I not commander-in-chief? Okay. The engineers in this setup, yes, okay. NYS, you have, okay. So, can you guys give us an estimate of what it would cost
to do this
labor,
job?
Everything to do this job? Mr. President, it would cost 1.8 billion. 1.8. And you've done, if you consider everything 1.8 billion, Kenya Pipeline, we have 1.8 billion we can give you to do this one. Now, just look at that.
1.8
billion
versus 30.
From 30 billion.
1.8 done. Kisumu, I think they said 45. 3.8 done, dusted. Now, you tell me, when you talk about savings, aren't those phenomenally huge savings? And again, Kenya Pipeline, 3.8 billion. So, one parastatal that is making money is actually helping spur development.
Indeed. And you know, if you look at the solutions that are being looked for, they're really right here. You know, a lot of things that you then try to save cost from, this, that, the other thing, they're right here. And you have this entire service is just basically sitting and waiting for, you know, a lot more to be asked of them to do. Imagine how much more you could do. Look at, again, going back to that example of Israel, where it's you go into the army at a certain age for a certain time. So what does that mean? That any one time, the country is not going to be in want or in need then when it comes to defense.
No, they don't.
You're not going to have to call people up.
There's every citizen. That's what it boils down to.
Every citizen.
Every adult citizen
can take up arms.
Yes.
And go.
Yes. You see, preparedness, if you're looking at the resources, you know, we talk about how resourceful and how well-resourced we are as a country. We actually are.
Extremely so.
Yes, but the utilization of those resources, I'm sure there are people who, when that 1.8 billion was determined, they died several deaths.
Surely.
Then again, same story. And someone asked...
But then they didn't learn their lesson. They still came back with a 45 billion.
No. By the way, what do you think impunity is? What do you think impunity is?
It is this.
Yes, it is this.
Practical example.
Yes. Somebody just comes out and says, you know, this one we're going to... And somebody else, no, folks. We are talking about rehabilitating. It works.
Yes.
What is it going to cost? Somebody throws that figure to you. They said, so what are you doing? The lines exist.
The lines are there.
What is it? This amount. Okay, Nani, let's change conversation.
Just do it.
You see, the things that are possible and the things that are not possible, you know, the difference is this. The ones which are not possible, there's no willingness to actually get it done if you look at it carefully. The ones which are possible, there's willingness, and then you see and you wonder, you mean it's actually been done? And the change has actually come about. And the resources were always with us.
Mutuma Marimba says, do you know that most of the cashiers and assistants at Carrefour are from NYS? No, actually, I didn't know that.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
No, I didn't know.
So these are graduates of NYS who have been hired by
NYS.
This particular chain of supermarkets.
I think they've checked and determined these guys are disciplined.
Yes.
Yeah, there's something that we get out of it.
We can do something with this.
Yes.
So let's open up the phone lines now, 0719-012-600. The proposal from the Situation Room this morning is that there should be compulsory joining of NYS for everybody who clears fourth form. Do you agree? Do you not agree? Everybody, once you clear the fourth form, you go next. Or now it's going to be what? Senior secondary. After secondary school, go into NYS, get trained there, serve a year or so. Before then, you go into college or university. It's 9:30. Time for a break. We'll pick your calls shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. "24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
The festive season is around the corner, but it's never too early to enjoy some delicious treats courtesy of Dairyland, especially if you have a sweet tooth like me. Join me, Edward Quach, on the Spice Drive from 3 p.m. every weekday to find out more about Dairyland's assorted range of chocolates, ice creams, and their new delicious additions. Hashtag Get Whipped with Dairyland on the Spice Drive. Let's enjoy delicious moments together.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December.
The weather with Spice FM.
Still cloudy conditions in Nairobi and light rain most parts, and for most parts of the morning, highs of 21 and lows of 15. Nakuru City is partly sunny at 18, highs of 23 and lows of 12. We're looking at light rain in Nyeri, highs of 22 and lows of 13. It's mostly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 13 today. In Mombasa, mostly cloudy conditions at 29. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 25. And in Malindi, it's sunny at 30, highs of 31 and lows of 26. We're looking at sunny conditions now in Kisumu at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 19, while Kakamega is sunny at 25. It'll go to highs of 29 and lows of 16. In Kampala, it continues to rain at 24, highs of 25 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam is raining this morning at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Sunny conditions in Johannesburg at 22 with highs of 27. We'll see highs of 33 in a sunny Lagos at 25. It's raining on the other hand in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 23. It's warmer in Paris. It's 1 degree and cloudy, highs of 5 and lows of 1 today. And out in Beijing into early evening Friday, 13 and sunny, highs of 13 and lows of -1. It's 4 degrees and cloudy in London, highs of 10. And New York coming into early Friday morning is clear at 9 degrees. The highs will be 10 and lows of 1.
...24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Want to add some sweetness to your life? Then look no further. Spice FM is teaming up with Dairyland to make...
We'll be
all
crawling
the
out of
happiest
traffic
moments-
hour not too long from now, but some of the roads still have that issue. Something is happening on North Airport Road today, and traffic is extremely slow. We're looking at bumper-to-bumper outbound in that area just ahead of Tassia. And then joining with Donholm Exchange, it should look a little bit easier from there. Mombasa Road still continues with traffic in and outbound for most parts. And it's looking a lot better on the Thika Superhighway, but it still continues. Uhuru Highway traffic then from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards Westlands, Raila Odinga Way, joining with Gong Road today, also quite slow. Keep an eye on things through the morning. Text on 40127. Tweet Spice FM KE.
.5 Spice FM. Kisumu.
So, Showmax. The conversation here is that you can get 14 days free trial if you just go on to showmax.com and find out how you can pay. You can pay using M-Pesa, or you can upgrade. If you have a DSTV connection, you can upgrade. Just go and find out. Add Showmax to your bill if you have DSTV, but if you don't, you can just get there and pay using M-Pesa. 14 days, free trial, free. If you choose, you don't need even the free trial. You already have seen people with Showmax, and you want to watch your series, your movies, your live games and all, just go to showmax.com, subscribe, and you get 1 extra month for free. City, very good idea that you had given. You were thinking about what to gift somebody for Christmas.
This is it.
It is a good gift.
This is it.
It's even cost effective.
Completely. All you need is any of the 5 devices I've talked about. Either you need a smart TV, a smartphone, a laptop, or Chromecast or a Google console, a gaming console rather, and you have access to Showmax. All the content that you want. Showmax.com. Go there and log in and subscribe.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
22 minutes to 10. Let's go to the phone line 0719-012-600. Do you support this proposal to have all Form 4 leavers or secondary school leavers join NYS for a time? Thomas in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Thomas.
I support that proposal 100%. I belong to the generation that I think we were the second last to do the A-level. Just for example, to demonstrate what I'm putting across. And I was born and brought up in Busia. I found myself in a school in Nyanza, the School of Saints and Gentlemen. After that, I went to Israel. However, I want to, for example, make an observation that, or rather share with you an observation I made in St. Mary's, Yala. The non-Luo students were majority. However, when we came out of there, this issue of tribalism and all this kind of nonsense that we have been exposed to later was something that we actually could not even associate with. I've been able, therefore, to render my services in Nyanza without fear, and I was accommodated very well because I was already exposed to different parts of Kenyans by having gone to school and college with Kenyans from various parts of this country. But specifically when I was in Israel, that sense of public good that we are talking about played out on me very directly. One time I was late, and because of that requirement of theirs that they have to go, all citizens, if you are a lady, it's actually 2.5 years. If you are a gentleman, it's actually 3 years in national military. It was such that one time when I was about to fall into the hands of a wrong person, as the Israeli told me, a lady held my hand and told me, don't go with that person because it's clear you are a beast of Israel and this fellow can harm you.
Wow.
And the blame comes to Israel. Are you saying that?
Just a random stranger.
Yes. No, he happened to be in the same kibbutz with me, but because I was black, I hadn't noticed. But it happened to me more than once. The second time and third time it happened, it was not somebody from the same kibbutz. But he was not of my race. He was an Israeli all the same. That sense of purpose helps us to think broadly, as opposed to the parochial thinking that we see today, that if somebody is not from my clan, if somebody is not from my tribe, then I have very little to share with that person.
Right.
I will support the presidential directive 100%. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Zachary Gekonyo in Nakuru.
Oh, good morning. Good morning, people.
Morning, Zachary. Boy, there. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm short of telling you Merry Christmas.
No, we are used to you. On Fridays, you have kakitu in your pocket.
Of course, yeah, definitely. And let me tell Mwarimandro there that if he hears a Kikuyu telling him no kugeria, chances are that Kikuyu can feed an entire village for about 2 years. and not make even a straight dent on his finances, yeah?
He's doing very well, but he's just saying, tunajaribu tu.
Yeah, no kugeria. Hata mimi nataka sasa nitoke niende nikagerie.
Yes.
So actually you are having a very, very, very good discussion there. And I would suggest even this. Going by the behavior of this burning down of schools and whatever, our kids are becoming indisciplined, yeah? Why can't we even think of lowering or bringing this idea of, discipline training immediately? These kids do their standard 8, yeah? or even it can be the government has got the wherewithal. I don't know whether it's wherewithal. That's what, yeah?
Yes.
But Imadro is going to clarify whether wherewithal.
Wherewithal.
To actually bring those young men and women who have already gone the training, let them be posted in the village schools and even in town. Inculcate this idea of discipline.
To be mentors.
To be mentored, yes, that is the word actually. And the government is able. Let also, even in secondary school, that process continues. Such that one person, the kid, will know, this is the school that I'm about to ban. How many people suffered or sacrificed to make this facility available for me now?
Yes.
So that is a very, very good idea. That's a very, very good idea. And let me say this. I am wishing you a very, very, very happy weekend. And I wish I was near. I would have. You know, I was declaring the Zachary Nawarebo.
Yes.
I want us to show them that I can start it this week. I can start up to it this week.
Zachary Nawarembo. Oh, yeah. Have a lovely one. Thank you, Zachary. Simon in Joro, good morning.
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 Yeah. So I think it is a very good idea in Kenya. But Azaria, in Kenya, words are always sweet than actions. Question number one: how many centers are there in Kenya to support all those children? Two: which criteria would they use to select the team to get there? Because as earlier as known, those with the money will always get a chance. And that, by the way, that is the main problem we have been having in those centers, especially the NYS. Those with the money will always corrupt to get the entrance there. The other problem is, as you had said, contracts. Obvious, contracts will always benefit the wazers. But the children on the ground, that is the workers. By the way, they have done very nice work as railway is concerned. But what benefit are they getting? Two, the last point is that yes, they have joined the NYS. Maybe the jobs. The jobs are always again. The jobs are for children from the senior senior
people with connections.
Yeah, with connections.
Okay.
So in short, it is a good idea. But
you've got to guard against it being corrupted.
Yeah, on the ground, I doubt.
Have faith, Simon. Have faith. Thank you very much for calling. Have a lovely day in Joro. Jimmy in Malindi. Jimmy?
Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Great. Okay. Let me go straight to the point.
Yes.
I started in Uganda, in London College of St. Lawrence, after finishing my Form 4 in Kagumo High School, Kenya. In Uganda, I had to go for military training. Even if you're a Kenyan or you're from whatever, as long as you're a student in that school, you go for military training. And now, I can parade in the Uganda Army. I can go for combat. So, if Kenya...
At what stage did you go through the military training? During your time there or after? Is it...
My Form 5. When you go to the Form 5 in Uganda, after finish Form 4 here, you must do military training so that you can go to the Form 6.
Okay.
And then you finish the university.
Yeah.
So, look at Ethiopia. The people are fighting, and the people who are expected to come and help are the citizens of the nation. Gabriel Selassie the runner, taking a gun, going to combat to protect their country.
Yeah.
So this is a very good move. This is making everybody patriotic. But everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage.
What are the disadvantages here?
The people can be used against their own nation. So we need to have a lot as citizens. Good move, because the country is safe.
Thank you,
Thank
Jimmy. Asante sana. Have a lovely day. Have a very good day. See all the conversations. So just to clarify, the order from the president was not that everybody goes to NYS.
Nope.
The directive from the president yesterday was that the next time the military is recruiting in the national recruitment exercise, they should take 1,000 men and women from NYS. Whatever number you'll be recruiting, just make sure. The last time, this previous one, they took 500 from NYS. The next one, they've been told, take 1,000. Now we are expanding that and saying NYS is actually a good service where people undergo some training and discipline and a sense of responsibility. How about we say that everybody, when you finish fourth form, you first go through NYS before you join university or college of your choice. And this will be mandatory, so it becomes a 100% transition from Form 4 to NYS. It's not about application or not. It's just automatic. You finish fourth form, next year come report whether you're being told to go to NYS Gilgil, or they have come up with a new NYS training college somewhere, but you go to NYS.
I can see it, and I can see that what it does is that it eliminates all of this, that period when you're not really sure what's happening. Am I going to university? Am I going to start some apprenticeship somewhere else? Am I going to have another, what exactly is it? So what it does is that it in as much as it's bridging you from one place to the next, it's also giving you then the advantage of seeing a different parts of the country and actually then serving a country. Because what we're saying, it's not like you're traipsing off to some parts of the country then to do an internship in the place that you want. No. You're actually serving the country in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
So then maybe what you do is that you have an opportunity to choose the capacity, but not necessarily choose where you will go, right? So whether it is a place where there's a partnership with government, or it is clear that it's just a government office, or whether it's a project that is a joint partnership between government and somebody else.
And private sector.
But essentially you are serving government. You get a stipend on a monthly basis, for example, that then is covered by government and whatever partner.
Yeah.
But essentially you are working and
you're serving
the country at that point. So in as much as you're serving the country, you gain this invaluable experience, and then seeing also what happens that's a place that's not your neck of the woods, you know. So you then I think what you do, and I think that the second to last caller said something. Okay, so what do we do?
This is Simon from Joro.
Right. So what do we do in some cases whereby people might try to then bastardize the system?
Yeah.
But the thing is that you have a board that basically, a placement board that basically places everybody, and this is not a thing of one chance. It's it's
very clear.
It's clear where you're going, and it's clear what is happening.
So first of all, you've gone into NYS, you're being trained,
Yes.
all right? So you're getting the basic skill, and also you're getting that discipline.
Yeah.
All of you together in this one place. And then after X number of months in NYS, in the NYS college, then there's the issue of now placement.
Yes.
And placement happens also automatically.
You're going here, you're going here.
X Standard Group wants 10 people. 2 in journalism, 2 in engineering, 2 in this and the other. And we are sent.
Yeah. Because there are many organizations I think about it and you say, okay, you know how you can look and you say there's an intern. So there's a place, okay, that's a copper.
Yep.
And you know that the copper is serving in this organization, but they're from the NYSC board, kind of thing.
You know, if you think about it, everyone who finishes secondary education is engaged. It's a game changer.
Absolutely.
And some form of training. So it's not just this knowledge you acquired in the academic learning that you had in school, but you are now being taught something else.
You have a skill.
Yes.
What they used to call course.
Yes.
Right. And you know what I just thought? That it eliminates,
it
eliminates this whole drama. Having a discussion with John, our producer, the other day, and it eliminates this whole drama of you leave university and somebody's asking you for 3 years experience, and you're like, hold on a minute, I just finished.
Come on.
I'm still wet behind the ears. I don't even know what is going on. But here you are, and you've had a year of doing so many things that could actually count for almost 2 years of experience.
It also helps with the decision-making process of what to do or what not to do when you actually get into that tertiary education. And it does.
It does.
You know, this maturation process, as opposed to leaving young people to the vagaries of their imagination and mind and to whatever else.
Yes.
you put them into this situation where they now begin to get a taste of what it is like to be in a formal setting beyond school.
And then that is also the place where, remember the conversation we were having about choosing your career when you're undecided. This is the place where the guidance and counseling for careers takes place at NIS. So you choose after this, you have basically had time with your counselors and all right, so I want to be an engineer, I want to be a tailor, I want to be a craftsman, I want to be a doctor. You
want to be a mason, a carpenter, whatever.
Whatever you're choosing to do, you have time to think it through. And then you're placed. KUSIPS can now place you.
Properly. And it will truly be your interest.
Yes.
You'll have been far better informed about the choice you want to make. Imagine you've left from phone, you're being told what do you want to do. What on earth do you know?
What do you know? That you're making a decision.
Yes, Eric, Duan City.
Good morning,
Karanja.
Yes, I'm very much okay here in Naivasha.
Yeah.
But that was a very noble idea from our president.
Yeah.
And I think even in our national schools, where these students used to burn some schools, why don't we allow the NYS to be the security in those national schools? I think it is a noble idea that will bring sanity, decorum in our public offices. And even, I think, if Israel is using this, I think it's a very good idea for the government that it will even save and even it will add value to young people who they start by maybe exporting them to countries like the UK or any other country, like what it is done here in Kenya. The people that we work them, they are given contracts.
Yes.
The Chinese. We hear that there are people who are in jail. There are some in jail terms, but they are working. You see, this is a good import export.
Yes.
They buy export to our country. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you, Karanja. Lovely Friday. I just want to go back to what you were talking about. And City, you've said this very many times. The maturity. That maturity, that chance for this young person to actually mature so that by the time they're going to college, they have grown to a certain level. There's how they'll behave in college. There's what they are thinking about their life. There's how they're conducting themselves while they're in college because they took a year.
Yeah.
Others call it gap year. We call it NYS year, service year.
Service year. And remember, because you're not off somewhere fending for yourself, as it were. You are at because what it is, you're at a training camp.
You're actually being trained.
You're at camp. During the day, you're going and you're serving in whatever capacity, if it's in an office, whatever. But then you're coming back to camp. So you get to understand socially you're being developed. Work-wise, you're being developed. Decision-making, there's so many things that are being developed in you at that time. You're living away from, again, your comfort zone or your guardians or whoever you're getting to know other people. So these are all, I think, contributory factors to then decisions that you would then make in the future. And it helps in a way that very little else would actually help.
And all these theoretical ideas you've had in your head, now, this is a landing pad for you to start testing them to see how they actually work.
Practically.
Yes.
Practically.
And you have a whole year to do this. It's enough time for you to juggle with these things and to arrive at a semblance of what could be a rational position you want to take with a view to a career.
And it also moves you completely away from under the arms or of your parents.
Oh, it's you.
Yes.
Because what happens, even when you're in high school, even when you're in boarding, you are still very much attached to the parent.
Yes.
And that's why we are seeing that teachers in high school are saying, we actually don't have control of these kids who are here. They still have a very strong attachment to what the parent is telling them. Now, here's a chance where you are under somebody who is an officer. Tells you, I walk, you stand up. You don't stand up, give me 50 push-ups.
I look at you, stop breathing.
Look at you, stop breathing. It instills that discipline of respecting others, of respecting order, respecting authority. So even when you go into a workplace, you already know there's a hierarchy here. This is where I am. This is my station in life. If I want to move to the next one, this is what I need to do. And when I get there, how do I treat those below me? All that is inculcated.
And secondly, it also gives you a sense of limits. Huh?
Yes.
Because one of the things that is part of modern thinking and psychology is that everything is possible. Actually, no, it's not true. And that you can do anything. No, that is also not true. You can do a great many things.
But not everything.
Not everything. You can achieve a great many things. And that you can be anything. Also not true. Now, the experience that you have in a setup of that will give you a real sense of what is what. And you'll be able to determine your onions from your leeks.
Bas. Time for us to take off and have a weekend. Then we'll be back on Monday. Tomorrow, 00 Direct is back, obviously. From what time again, Ndu? To
10
what time?
a.m. till 2 p.m.
Right. She will be hosting Anne Wambeti Ireri, who's the executive director of FIDA Kenya, because FIDA will be launching the Women Leadership Academy, Vota Dada. Okay? So tomorrow, just tune in to 00 Direct with Olivia Otieno and Anne Ireri, who's the executive director of FIDA Kenya, talking about that launch of the Women Leadership Academy. It's called Vote Dada. City, today's proverb then.
Asiyejua kucheza husema wacha nivae nguo. He who does not know how to dance or doesn't know the dance pattern and the dance tune will say, let me put on my garments first before I come to the dance or before I start dancing.
Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us again Monday morning, God willing. We'll be here at 6 a.m. Robert Andrew says, Eddie the legend says, the NYS training should be mandatory. Our society is chaotic because majority of us are not disciplined. We're burning schools, coming to office late, eating anyhowly. No financial discipline. NYS will prepare all Kenyans ready to defend our borders in case of threats.
Yep.
Also, let's acknowledge David Muthui Mwangi, who says he's been watching the Situation Room for now a couple of weeks and is completely impressed with the content that we give out. Asante sana, David, for that very lovely. It feels good, eh?
Endorsement. Yes,
it feels good when you're told, okay, you're doing a good job. It feels nice. Thank you very much, David, and everybody else who's tuned in, who calls in every day. We all appreciate everything that you do. Have a lovely weekend. So Olivia Otieno tomorrow, you have more music, you have more stuff coming out of SpiceFM. We'll be back on Monday. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.